welcome back to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 19. Jay, thank you for leading off the very first piece of audio with a cuss word. We'll go ahead and clip that out for YouTube so that we can actually monetize the video. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 19. I am Blue Squadron, your typical host here. And we are joined again by Tiltus. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tiltus TV. I am the shot caller for Epidemic. Actually, I'm not. I'm the flex lead for Epidemic now. And I do some streaming. I do the PvPs. Yeah, I have a good time. I've been taking some time off because work's been killing me, but hopefully we'll get back on schedule this week. So,
amen, brother. I feel that. And my boy Jay Kun.
Hi, I'm Jay Kun. I'm an Awakening Musume with 760 Gear Store. I do a lot of endgame PvE content, such as Olins, the Dungeons, and soon Dekia Olins. And welcome to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 19.
I could have sworn it was so relaxed when he started, like he had rehearsed it in the mirror like 15 times. And then he started speed running, to the end. And welcome to the Old Glizzy Clock Podcast. Oh no!
Glizzy Clock.
Oh no! I messed it all up. That's it. And today we are actually joined with a special guest, probably the best ninja to have played the game worldwide. Armin, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
I'm Armin. I used to be a former CM for this game for about a year, and then I stream PvP, and yeah, that's really about it.
Right on. That's
about it. I do the PvPs. That's what I
just do the. Yeah, I guess I'm okay. Literally, like almost rank 1 AoS the first season it came out. Weren't you like rank 2 or 3 the second season, and then this season you're already top 2 or top number 1 today? It changes day to day.
It changes day to day. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you're at right now, but you're always in the top 3 here. That being said, absolute pleasure having you on the podcast here. Our first topic is actually right about earliest PvP experiences. When you were wee children. I'll save mine for a little bit after. Why don't we start off with Jay? Because I'll be honest with you, Jay, how long was it before you even tried PvP in BDO? And then what was your first experience with it?
Well, when I first started playing BDO, I played an Awakening Witch, and very early on, I discovered that she was not the best duelist. But I did. I did try my best to make it work. Like, I did try to like research and explore, and she did do a lot better in like a group setting. And so I do think when it comes to BDO's combat systems, it's kind of there's so many systems that a new player will be overwhelmed with, and that's, I was like, what the heck was a super armor, iframe, what the heck was a forward guard, what's a CC limit or whatever, right? I feel like those systems are definitely something that a new player will struggle with at the beginning, but when you find people to help you along the way, show you the ropes, I think that's when it started getting a little bit better. But yeah, that was my experience in the beginning, was being an Awakening Witch and just, accepting my fate.
Do you remember your first kill, Jay?
My first kill?
Yeah.
It was, yes, actually.
Everyone
Kadri
remembers
Ruins.
Their first one, dude.
Kadri Ruins. Somebody was grinding over me, and I'm like, hey, hi, I was here first. And he's like, he'd ignored me. I was like, oh, time to,
good man.
What's this button? Alt C? What the heck? Wait.
Oh, you used some hotkeys. I think I manually
activated
clicked
the
on
red lightsaber and just
I think I had to control click.
But yeah, that was my first experience actually killing somebody. I think I was like very overgeared for him. I think he was a very new player because I like one shot him with my fissure wave.
Jay,
and so
it
felt really good.
Hold on. You gear checked somebody?
I gear checked somebody. I know.
Get out of here. Of course it was a gear check.
Of
course it was a gear check. Armin, what about you? What's your first recollection with PvP? I mean, you're a huge PvPer. It's the opposite of Jay. So did you like just jump straight in and start with it, or did you wait for a while?
I think I literally got into this game because of PvP from what I remember. I think my first time ever flagging on someone was like, I did the level 50 quest where it was like a catfishman way back in the day. Yep. This was like Steam launch. And then it was Catfishman. I had like absolutely no gear or anything. I was like, I just want to test this out. And I instantly flagged up on the guy next to me who had also just finished the quest. And we both were like falling into the water over and over at Catfishman because I was trying to chase him, and I think I eventually got him, but I don't remember quite exactly.
Oh goodness. What about you, Tiltis? You remember your first kills?
Yeah, I think my very first kill ever was at mains, and I think it was a situation very similar to Jay, where I was doing my little like 54 to 55 grind at mains or whatever. I was doing something like that, and this guy just kept coming in the rotation just over and over and over again. And I was like, finally, I was like, dude, like go find a rotation, stop coming into mine. And he just didn't respond, and I was like, all right, man, I'm gonna flag up. And so I just like. I killed him, and then like 2 seconds later, like not even, I think there was a guild doing a guild mission at mains. All of a sudden, like 4 or 5 people just came out of the woodworks and like flagged up on me, and I died. And I was like, all right, well, I'm leaving now. So it was like, I didn't have a guild at the time. It was just me being a solo player, like playing the game for like 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, time to go. Can't be here anymore. But I kind of miss the old Catfishman level 50, because you could always tell when other players, because you would see their name go from green to white and be like, oh, there you go, that's the guy right there, that guy, I can fight that guy, he just hit level 50.
My experience is definitely a little bit different. I started at Steam Release 2, but my buddy Note and I had basically sworn, all right, we're not going to do PvP. We explored all of Valencia, we got all the way through it, we were like level 56, and then I started on a DK. And then I started playing Maywa, and I really enjoyed the Maywa, but we were both like super under geared. So we're at Elric's, like, 5-6 shotting the mobs, like sweating, trying to work our way through it. And this guy walks in, and I'll never forget, we're sitting in a Discord call together, and he just goes, hey, do you want to flag on that guy? And I was like, oh, we've never done that before. Are you sure? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And we flagged up, and we just started screaming like barbarians in the Discord call, ran this guy down, and this poor witch, we literally pushed this witch against the wall, and I'm in Tiger Blade, because I realized that was like the only way I could do damage was to just go Tiger Blade, and I'm just wailing on him with the melee. He's wailing on him with Striker, trying to hold him down, and the guy's desperately trying to type in chat, please, no, I'll leave, I didn't mean it. And then we killed him. And it was like the best. it was like, I don't know if that guy ever played again, but it was like the best moment. It's like the best moment ever. Like a couple weeks later, we joined our first Node War guild, and we were off to the races from there.
Yep. That's how it always starts. You get that little taste, and you're like, ooh.
Oh, it was super juiced. Yeah, no, most of my early PvP. Yeah, and then like I said, I always had that. The first time my guild came to help me, right? I was doing that guild mission, and then you know, I found Verk standing over all those corpses, and I was like, man, I wanted to be that guy.
Maybe I flagged on you. Jesus Christ. Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, well, I mean,
maybe
did you grind at Elric's Shrine? Did you grind at Elric's Shrine? Because that's
I was a mains Helm enjoyer. Dude, Helms was
never
madhouse back in the day.
Nah, I was at Elric's until about 58, 59, making 6 mil an hour. Woo! Because Sawsons were where all the geared people went. Like, all the real players went to Sawsons or Pirates, but I was a new player. I didn't have a boat yet, so we were relegated to Elric's.
I remember the reason I did Helms was because of the ancient, what was it? The ancient necklaces and the whatever they were. You can melt the necklaces down for hearts and sharps.
Oh, the
so
ancient weapon cores.
Everybody would go do those for their hearts and sharps. So I just lived in the bottom rotation of Helms for like 2 months probably before I ever left. I was like, I'm stockpiling all these. It was a good time. I used to love fighting down there because it's a big circle with 2 ramps that like lead out of either side.
I hated fighting in Helms.
If you ever got in danger, you would just like run up the ramp and like go up into the upper part of like Helms and try to lose the person, then come back down. You're like, ignore me. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no. I think that honestly, I hated. So I used to grind the lower Helms a lot because I saw Aeon Janus do it, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. This is my thing. I'm a Dark Knight too. I can do this. I hated fighting there though because the mobs did a lot of damage down there. Oh yeah. And also, they CC'd you a lot. Yep. But like the people that flagged on me and stuff didn't know that. So like, I called it home field advantage, just like Shirakan Necropolis. Yep. Home field advantage. I just let Federic do all the work for me.
It's like a Dark Souls invasion. Like sometimes
Exactly.
you just lead the host to the mobs and let the mobs kill them.
Right. Armin, what was your first PvP guild?
Shoot.
How do you not know this?
What was
you were
it?
in Blitzed a long time ago, but you had to have been in something
Nah,
before that.
that was my first. No,
Yeah.
I mean I'm trying to remember because you got to realize I started the game, played during Steam launch for like 2 months, quit, and then came back like, 2 years later.
Oh wow, it was a 2-year gap there.
Yeah, it says 2-year gap. So I'm trying to remember. It was like when I came back, I was in Nasty, and they were like some T1 guild. And it was only like 30 of us. I remember that one. I think that before that one, it was like Shinsuge or something like that. It was like a Korean name. It wasn't a Korean guild though. I think it was one of those two.
Right on. Jay, your first PvP guild was Noto, right? Like you just joined a siege guild, right?
No, it was
he had some
Vertex.
Yeah.
Oh,
was
you
my
went to
first,
Vertex first. That's right.
mhm.
Okay. And so you
Are
literally
we
went
talking
from
about like
no
big
PvP guild.
guilds?
No, this is his very first PvP guild. Didn't you just
That was
go
my
from
very
no
first one.
PvP and you
I went
just
from
joined Vertex?
the Ingenium, like the side, like Ingenious, which was the life skill portion of Ingenium,
Right.
which is like the casual side, and then I went to Vertex to try and take advantage of the siege rewards that were changed to give like 2-3 bill worth of stuff. That's when I started seriously thinking about it. Was when they offered something for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right on. And I was in Muted as my first PvP guild for like all of a few days before I went to Legatum. And then you just went to Epidemic, right, Tiltus? And
No. I was in Joker.
oh
I was in
yeah,
Joker.
that's right.
I was in
you
Joker and
did.
Corrupt
Yeah, you were in
first.
Joker.
Because it was through Joker that I found Epidemic because we hated each other and had permadex on each other because we shared home servers. So we
Right.
just fought all the time.
Okay,
But yeah,
that makes sense.
Joker was a good time, but that was back in the days when you had to send workers to build the Node War zones. I remember
no.
one of the
No,
like officers.
no.
I remember one of the
God,
officers
no.
coming to me and being like, "Hey, can we make you officers and you can send a worker out to this fort to help us build it?" I was like, sure."
Absolutely miserable. The Dark Ages. The absolute Dark Ages. So when you guys joined your early guilds, I assumed that you joined them for the community more than anything else, or was it just simply because they were a PvP guild? Armin? You just
I
joined
was
because your
in-
friends were in there?
So when I came back to BDO and I joined my first like actual PvP guild, which was Nasty, and then I joined Crawling Chaos after. But the Nasty one, which is like that one, I was in BA. I had like one tap like a Penzarka before I quit the game at the time. And I was just talking to some random guy. He saw I had a Penzarka. He was like, "Hey, you want to join our guild?" And then that's literally all it was.
That's how you recruited for T1s back then. You just went into the battle arena and just looked for the Andes that were born in the battle arena. All right, so looking at new, like these new players coming to the game. Most of them, there's a lot of them that actually try to make their own guild, which I don't know if you guys have ever been a part of like the new guild building experience. I think Tiltus has. I'm not sure if Armin's actually been through it before. You have? Okay.
Yeah.
So like this is pretty miserable, right? Like most of what they're going to have to do is miserable. And what the reason I wanted to touch on it is because the developers said they were going to change this like forever ago, and it still has not been changed. Right, nothing about the new guild experience has changed. So, like, what are some of the challenges? We'll go around. I'll start with Tiltus. Give me one of the challenges you think that, like, a new guild forming is going to have to face.
It's been so long since I've done this. Is the clan system even still a thing, or is it gone now?
Technically,
It's
you
still
can.
a thing,
yeah,
but
I was
no
gonna
one
say-
does it.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
it's
I was gonna say
should
because
just
that's
be
where
removed.
that was what I started with, was trying to recruit like what was it, like 15 players to a clan to then make a guild, because it was like a process that you had to go through back in the day. So
Yeah.
I don't even remember doing that. But I think the biggest part for new guilds right now is probably the guild skill system. Like getting to a point where you've got all the necessary guild skills is such a huge hurdle if you come into a guild with 0 skills at all and you've got to rebuild everything from scratch.
Yeah, it's miserable. Jay, Jay, you ever been around for like the beginning of a guild?
The beginning of a guild. Kind of. Like the guild that I joined was fairly new, and I honestly joined because I just I saw them like posting in the world chat. They were saying, casual, life skill guild, and then there was just like a few people there. And I think the hardest part for them was just recruiting in general, just like finding people.
Yeah.
And so I think for newer guilds, it's just the simple act of recruiting people will be the hardest part, I think.
Yeah, especially at the start, right? Because when you first start out, the guild shell only has 10 slots, I think. And you have to do guild missions, and in order to have people on, like, you have to have 3 people online to do a guild mission, and you can only do small guild missions at the start, right? Because the XL guild missions give you a lot of experience, but you can only do small ones because you only have a few people in the guild. So you have to do a bunch of these small guild missions just to like expand the guild. It's to get points. So you can literally expand the guild to 100 players. And at that point, like Jay said, trying to get, hey, come, you have to totally lie to them. You have to totally lie to them. You're a complete scammer. Hey, super active community, join our guild, all buffs. You have none of that. You have no buffs, active Discord, LOL. Like there's no one doing missions. You know what I mean? Like it's miserable. They jump in and you just hope that they don't leave. Right? Like your goal is like, you can go inactive, you could log out today and never log in again. What's important is you are a slot in the guild and you count as a person. You know what I mean? Like that in my opinion is one of the toughest things, is trying to recruit people right at the start. Armin, do you remember some of the tribulations that you had trying to start a guild out?
I mean, honestly, I think the worst thing even to this day is just like it's the guild skills and how tedious they are. I mean, I don't think it's even fun for anyone to do it, right?
No.
And then even let's say they get past the guild skill point and then they want to get into like more active things, like let's say when they want to start doing node wars. This is why you don't really see new node war guilds. Is all the elephants and all this, kind of BS you have to do is just, it's not really worth the time. And so most of the time nowadays, even if people leave a guild and they want to make a new one, you'll see they'll just pick up shells of old guilds and use that.
Yeah.
It's honestly not worth it. And what was it, like the guild houses? I remember that to a vague extent, like how janky they are and everything. It's just a terrible time.
Yeah, so after you get past the initial recruitment phase, so you expand the guild slots out, you get all your initial recruits. Nobody's logged in 75 days, but that's okay because you're cranking out all the guild missions yourself, and now you've got a rolling guild. You're starting to pull in a few active players and stuff, and you're finally starting to get some guild skills together. You have some of the passives done, and if you're looking at PvP, like Armin said, you have to go look at making an elephant, and the process for making an elephant is literally one of the hardest things that players are going to do in the game. I think it's probably making a good T2 elephant with gear is probably, I'd say it's worth about 50 or 60 billion silver worth of current effort, in my opinion, because you have to rent the guild house, which costs guild funds, by the way, that you don't have, unless you know the tech. Outside of Sandgrain Bazaar, and you like rent the Kadri guild house for like 1 million silver or something. So you have to rent the guild house, and then you have to go to Kadri ruins and grind Kadris for like hours and hours and hours to get the Kadri tokens. And then you have to go to the guild house and you have to manufacture all of this stuff, not just Kadri tokens, but a bunch of random stuff that you get from nodes and different gathering all over the world and stuff. So you have to use your own materials to make guild stuff, which no one really wants to do. Even the GM doesn't want to do that stuff. And you have to manufacture in this thing overnight. And keep in mind, manufacturing in BDO means that you have it's processing, but it's not normal processing. It takes like 15 seconds per manufacture, like per make, right? And you have to do it, I don't know, 2,500 times per elephant.
Don't forget that for every Kadri token that you have, you as the single player have to have all the other materials, because you cannot put those materials into the guild bank for somebody else to use them. So if you have 10,000 Kadri tokens, congratulations, your ass is making 10,000 of the books. So, or however many it is, 2,000 of the books or whatever. It takes forever as a single player to do that.
I also remember during that, speaking of guild storage, that during my first experiences, some guy that like had just joined the guild like a week and a half ago or whatever. Took like a bunch of stuff out of the guild storage, like yoinked it all and just dipped.
Yep.
Oh my god, you can still do
what?
that.
Yank. Yep.
You can still do that now.
You can still,
There-
yeah, you can still do that.
There are terrorists in our community that will join and like they just empty your entire guild storage and then just drop guild and
Yep.
just make off like a bandit with all of your stuff. It's awful.
That they really can't use for like anything.
That they can't use
realistically.
for anything. There's basically no use for any of it outside, and like all guild items disappear from your inventory when you drop guild anyway. So they're really just doing it. Like I said, it's a terrorist act, man. It's brutal. So like, yeah. So you have to manufacture all of this stuff, and you're the one that has to have all the components, and you're wasting all of your AFK and active time on it, and then you finally have all the materials. It gets done processing. You get this guild emblem in the guild storage. You pull it out. You walk up to the stable keeper. You redeem the elephant, and the thing is terrible because it is RNG. It is RNG whether or not you get the skills that you need. And there are no mount rerolls coupons for guild Ellie's. Do you have any idea how much money I would have dropped so quickly if they had guild like mount EXG exchange coupons?
I think I've made around 5 elephants in my time playing BDO, being in leadership, and every single time I've made an elephant, it is the worst experience that I do in the game. And then the best part is you go redeem the elephant and it's got quick back and quick turn, and you're like, well,
quick turn's actually good as long as you
quick turn
also
is
have.
not good, but
No.
if you don't have charge or stop,
Exactly.
you're just like, well, I'm fucked. I guess I'll do it again.
You want charge, four chop, and quick turn.
Yep.
Quick turn is not a priority. Charge and four chop you absolutely need in a PvP guild. Your elephants must have those 2 skills. At least 2 of your 3 elephants need those 3 skills. Oh yeah, by the way, you need 3 of these.
3
so
of
like
them.
you
Yeah.
So the first Ellie comes out, it's terrible. You have to go back and do it again. So you have to do the whole process again until you get one with charge and four chop. And once you finally have that one, good.
Would it be too strong if they just gave all of the skills to the elephant?
No.
That'd be too strong?
No.
Then
not
that would
even-
just like
It
remove
would
the
not
energy
even be
and
close
help
to
it
too
along.
strong. It would
It
just
would
be
just-
like, here, you want an
No.
elephant? Here is the
Yeah.
elephant with all the skills.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
no, Jay.
You did it.
It would literally just be fine if they gave every guild elephant in the
It
game
would just make it a
the
lot
correct
more
skills.
less stressful to
Yeah, at least then
Guild maker.
you're guaranteed after wasting dozens and dozens of hours of your time. Like at least you're guaranteed to have an elephant that's worth something. And by the way, again, we're not even done yet because if you have a tier 2 elephant with no gear on, you might as well be riding around on a camel. So like you actually then you have to go back and you have to do the same stuff but for the gear. Like the guild gear, and you have to again spend your own silver, like billions of silver of your own stuff to make the gear and then enhance the gear just to put the gear on the elephant that you finally made after your 3rd, 5th. I mean, I think
Don't forget you use memory fragments for that gear as well. You, the
really?
player.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to
I
use
love
your
it,
enhancement
Jay.
stacks, your enhancement material, your memory fragments.
Jay's
Yeah,
never
it's
done it.
brutal.
He's like, as someone
No,
that's never
I've
contributed
never
to my
done-
guild experience,
Pretty sure,
I would not know that.
That elephant gear and stuff as well. It can also be stolen if someone ditches
Oh.
your guild.
Yeah.
Is that true? Oh
Yeah,
my
if
gosh.
If the gear is not on the elephant, because I think only officers can take gear on and off elephants.
Yeah, but I've seen officers dip with
Oh,
it.
God,
I've
yeah.
seen it.
And we've had, I mean, yeah, we've seen some crazy stuff in the BDO history of guilds. I mean, you guys remember Vertex, right? There's a reason that Vertex today has no vowels in it. The original Vertex, VERTEX, really big siege guild, really powerful. And then one day, they took a castle in Valencia, and the GM just mental boomed. He just lost it. He kicked every single person from the guild and nuked it. And then took the payout for himself, by the way. He literally kicked everybody from the guild,
What?
took the payout for himself, and
When
then
did
just
that
nuked
happen?
the guild down. That was a long time ago.
What was it?
God.
Something like that happened somewhat recently, like within the last like 2 years. I remember seeing the clip where it was like the middle of Node War, and some officer just lost it and
yes!
just kicked 75
Oh,
people in the middle of
Who
war.
was that? Oh
I
my
don't remember.
goodness.
That was such a funny clip though. I remember cackling watching.
It
that.
was Medea Siege, right?
Yeah, it was
think
Med
so,
Siege.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember
forgetting
the guild
what the
name,
name-
but I know I remember it.
Yep.
It's like, I forget what the name of the guild was.
Oh, Snapchat.
Snapchat. That's
Snapchat,
exactly what it was. Yeah, it was
yeah.
Snapchat. I remember because they had an Instagram photo was their guild icon, and their name was Snapchat. And the dude just like one of the officers just said, you know what? You wouldn't like he asked to have one of his friends join the guild, and they said no. And so the natural human response to that is to kick 75 people from the guild and steal as much stuff from you can as you can.
I remember
and then
listening to the comms as it was going on, and it was just like pure panic and chaos.
Oh my god, it was a disaster, dude. But this is why, you just promote everyone. This is why our guild system just needs to be updated, right? Because right now you just promote everyone to officer when they join. You just give them officer, and then that cannot happen. The only people that can kick officers is like the GM
and
themselves.
Advisor
And the advisor, right? So like you don't have to worry about that as much anymore.
Epidemic is 80 officers right now and 5 sprouts.
Well, that's exactly. That's how it works, man. You just like nobody wants to join a PvP guild and then have to ask for a deck every single time they want to do something, right? Like, oh my god, that would be a deal breaker for me. So anyway, so we have the guild elephants, recruitment, trying to get all the points together. And by the way, the points is just a never-ending saga until you hit like 800 or 900 guild points. And then you finally have the points that you need to actually have a guild. And then, like, I would say, honestly, these good guild shells, like Armin was talking about, like, you can't really make your own guild anymore without a tremendous amount of effort, as we just explained. So you usually pick up other people's guild shells and stuff. Those are very valuable. Guild shells in BDO are extremely valuable. Like, I have, like we have... the old dismantled shell is now reforged, and then because we just recycled it, because again, why start from scratch when you already have all 3 Ellie's done and everything? And then reassembled is the old legatum shell, and I'm the caretaker for that. So like, yeah, I mean the guild shells are just invaluable, and I don't think they should really be that valuable, man. Like we have all these new players joining the game, and I guarantee you there's going to be a decent portion of them that try to make their own guilds, and they're going to quit because they just can't get involved. Plus, there's no guides. Right, you're just going in. You have no idea.
YOLO.
Yeah,
hopefully there's a grumpy green guide somewhere that you can look at for something.
Right. It's actually insane. So anything else we want to touch on with the guild system? I kind of wanted to just go over that and some of the troubles.
How much would you price a guild shell?
Oh well,
like
that
if you
depends.
could sell
Are
it?
you talking about? Yeah, if you're. Are you talking about
life money? Or are you talking about?
We're talking in a
We're
theoretical
talking
situation
very,
here.
Yes,
No.
as J-Kun VT. You heard him. No. You heard him. J-Kun VT, V before the T. Delphi, this is you. Asking how many US dollars.
A fully stacked elephant, bro. Like all 3, full guild shell, everything.
Yeah.
Easily like 300 bill. I mean, like
300 bill? What?
No, 300 bill is low ball. Honestly, I was thinking like 500.
You think more?
At least
that is
500.
pretty low. I was thinking like, I mean, I would even pay more.
Yeah,
I'm
I would.
joking.
There's not an amount of silver I wouldn't pay. I would just start selling gear. I would not even joking.
Amount of time. You got to remember that like guild shells don't like pop up overnight. These are things that people have worked on for years. To get to where it is.
Correct.
Like this is not like it's hard to put a monetary value on that stuff because it is like it's a process. And the thing is, it always starts out with a group of like 5 people that are really dedicated to doing it, and they slowly build it up over time. And then 2 years later, they have a fully functioning guild. You know, all the guild shells that we have now. I mean, even Legatum shell. I mean, Legatum is from
forever
the server merge.
Ancient.
Yeah. I mean, Legatum is ancient history. So I mean, like, it's rare. I mean, the Corrupts had the same guild since 2016. I mean, that's how old that guild is. So maybe even older than that. So
yeah, I think at least 500 bill. And in terms of USD wise, theoretically, since J-Kun asked, J-Kun VT, V for the T, not blue, me answering his question, 3 elephants, all guild skills.
The disclaimer.
Everything. I mean, I don't know. I would. Oh man.
I don't know if I could honestly put a value on it.
It's worth more than any one account is probably going to be worth, right? Not that you would ever want to sell any of those either. But like thousands of dollars USD. I mean, because you're talking about again, like to get the guild skills themselves, you're talking months of work every single day, all 10 missions every single day for at least 6 to 7 months. And that's after doing all the recruitment and then working on the elephants and everything else that has to go into it, right? Yeah, that's got to be thousands of USD if someone were gonna sell one of those. But usually,
Yeah, I think it's
fortunately,
time gated.
yeah. Fortunately, people just hand them around in the BDO community because we only have a finite number of these things, and it should not be this way. There's all of this to say that this is all ancient relics that the developers need to change, right? So, okay, let's move to our next topic. One of the big reasons we have Armin here: Arena of Solare Season 3. It's here. It's happening. Armin's finally playing actively again. He's come out of hibernation.
He found the milk and the cigarettes. He found it.
Oh God, Armin, I know that you're excited about it, but what's your most excited? What were you most excited about for AoS Season 3? Just
I have stream content again.
I don't know. Open world.
Like, I mean, to be honest with you, like, I was like looking at the season. I was like, man, 4 months gone, dude. There's got to be some prime content coming around. And then, you know, Festa comes out. I'm like, I'm waiting for it. Where is it? Yeah, we're releasing 3 new maps. Let's go on to the next subject. All right, man. that's literally all it is. I mean. Honestly, it's basically the same as last season.
Yeah, it's identical as far as I can tell.
The only thing I'm excited for is AoS is back. I mean, outside of that, there's nothing like this season. They made the rewards worse, if anything. So.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wait, how are the rewards worse?
Last time they were giving like, oh, if you're rank 1 on your class during like this week, you get special stuff. They don't even have that this time around. From what I know.
They might add it.
Maybe. I don't know.
During the event,
we'll see.
How do you feel about the new maps? Are you excited about the new maps? I know you hate one in particular, but like
much worse than last season, in my opinion.
Really?
I think I liked all the maps from previous, like Olin's, you know, all those. They're much better. This season's maps always have some kind of issue. Bamboo has performance issues. The house map, I fell asleep fighting 2 casters and a Megu. They just sat on the rooftop the whole time.
The solid 7,000 damage games.
Yeah. What else do we have? We have that DP buff map, and like on that one, the frame rate is fine, but then you run into the issue of the DP buff spawn so early that whoever gets it just wins the fight because there's only one. Yep. At least on the Ruins of Soul map, you had 2, so you could split up and like, you know, guarantee 1 on one end and 1 on the other. This one's just like, okay, you win or lose. I had a nightmare where they added a flame buff to that map. No, not joking. Not joking. Not joking, by the way.
Man literally woke up in a cold sweat and was like, oh, God. Yeah.
Oh, thank God, it's not here yet.
Check the patch notes. Check the patch notes.
And then, what's the map I'm missing? I'm missing one.
There's
the Meiwa Blossom map.
Oh yeah, on the Meiwa on that map, I can't see anything on the top 30% of my screen because all the trees block my vision.
Trees.
Zoom in. It's true.
Yeah,
I didn't
zoom
even think
in
of
Say that. I'm leaving.
I just kind of dealt with it. I was
Jay's
like, God, look
running me
how
out of
pretty
the
they are.
PvP one. I'm leaving. Yeah, chat.
It's so pretty though, like the falling,
zoom in.
The blossoms.
Play in first person.
I kind of like the field map.
Yeah, I mean that's the only map where I'd be like, like this map's not bad, but
the plateau's cool just because there's no super gimmick with it. I mean, there is a buff that spawns relatively early on that map, but it's one of those just like, okay, go smack against each other as 3 and, you know, hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of maps that I think people like to play, where, you know, it's a lot down to you're actually interacting with your opponents and like your skill set on your carrot class and things like that. And then I think PA
your awareness too.
Yeah, and I think PA just wants to keep on doing things that frankly no one likes, you know. So I don't know.
Well, I'm
not a big fan of this season.
I actually like the fact that they're changing the maps up. I do like that because that's pretty standard. That's pretty standard. Yeah. StarCraft 2 had the same thing. There was always like ranked would come in and then there'd be this whole new map pool. For stuff, and it was cool because, you know, you hated some maps and you liked other maps and it kept it interesting. I would like to, like, honestly, I don't think AoS lasts long enough, and I know Armin's probably yes, absolutely, it needs to be permanent, but like Armin, do you think it should be permanent? Do you think it should just be around?
Practice mode should be permanent. Ranked mode, like I'm fine with ranked mode taking like a 1 month, 2 month break. that gives me a 1 month, 2 month break where I'm not forced to play it for this many hours a day to maintain my rank. But practice mode being permanent, man, dude, I love hopping on practice mode at like 1 a.m. and queuing up and shooting the shit with the boys, you know? So I don't see any reason it shouldn't be around, especially if they're not going to release any single form of new edition or content between maps, like outside of the maps.
Or bring back something old.
Yeah,
while AoS is down.
Yeah.
What if? Okay. I'm
I think I've said that every time we talk about Arena.
Yeah, no,
it's almost like there's a game mode that they could rotate in that everybody would love.
Rotating game modes would be awesome, but hear me out on this. Instead of just rotating game modes, what if, like, do we think that 3v3 is necessarily the best format for AoS? What if, like, for 2 months it was 3v3, and then another month it was 1v1, and then another month it was 2v2, and then another month it was 5v5? Armin, how do you feel about those different matchups? I know they're very, very dynamic. I have my own opinions on them, but I'm curious. How do you feel about like 5v5s versus like 1v1s, adding more or less people?
I think that 3v3 is kind of like the perfect number because the second you go, let's say you go down, let's say you do a 1v1, right?
Yeah.
The 1v1 turns into a matchup where it is purely about your class, right? Like it is purely like if I am playing a worse class than him, I'm just gonna lose. There's nothing I can do to outplay him. Meaning like the top of leaderboards is you're just gonna see tamers and rangers, and that's basically gonna be it for a while. Maybe some rat classes here and there. I'm getting a phone call right now.
Oh, you're good.
Any chance?
No, you're good. I'll transition it over to Tiltus. Tiltus, what do you like? What do you think that like 1v1s, 2v2s, 5v5s, 4v4s? Do you think that would be viable as like AoS game modes?
I don't think they're viable as AoS game modes per se. I think they would be nice additions to have maybe for fun, like just a practice, 1v1 where I can queue and duel somebody. 2v2s could be like interesting, but if you're doing 2v2s, you got to make it to where you can even do ranked with a buddy and just make it ranked duos and just let me queue in with one of my friends and have fun, because that would be way more enjoyable. 5v5 would be fun, but I feel like you're starting to get away from like the feel that AoS has right now, because right now it's a lot about communication, where it's like, all right, if everybody kind of breaks into their own 1v1s and you have 3 separate 1v1s going on and one person gets a CC, there's immediate communication that's like, this guy's knocked, I'm pinging the fuck out of him, everybody dive bomb this guy right now. And if that guy doesn't V or doesn't have V, then he's toast. And that's kind of the dynamic. So if you were to move it to 5v5, I mean, you're looking at like 3 people, 4 people just dogpiling one guy right off the start to immediately swing it to a numbers game. So 3v3 keeps it to where, like, as long as you're standing, for the most part, you're okay. You're not going to die standing in AoS with the 3v3, even if you get dogpiled. If you're knocked, you're toast if you don't V and there's 3 people on you. But
hello.
I mean,
I'm an awakening witch. It's nice to meet you. I would like to discuss your comment about not dying from standing.
When you were mentioning,
I beat you at class, dude. I'm sorry, my bad.
God. Jay.
When you were mentioning 1v1s, that reminded me of, there was this like really fun tournament that I was watching, that we all watched. I think it was in 2021 or 2022, but it was the best in class tournament where you would just fight your own class, and maybe that would work better as a 1v1.
That would work better,
option?
but
yeah,
it would work better. But I
people
think
get bored eventually, right?
People would get bored. I actually would love to see the best in class tournament come back again, mainly because last time Armin was sitting on the desk, and I know that this man is watching the ninjas going, I can beat this guy, I can beat this guy, I can beat this. This is my tournament. Armin, if the best in class tournament comes back, I assume that you're gonna want to you're all in on that.
Depends on how much PA pays me to cast again, but we'll see. Listen, man, at the end of the day, I'd rather take some IRL gains than a monitor or like a title.
He said, "I'll chase the bag. It's all right."
That is fair. I respect it. Yeah, that is fair. I respect it. They probably do pay a pretty penny for that. Yeah, I don't think 1v1s work super well as a game mode. I think that 2v2 would be interesting, but the problem is if you get paired with an awakening witch or like a shy or something, you're basically just fucked.
Yeah, so 2v2 is still a bit too class based in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, you could have Striker Mystic against Wizard Witch or something, or against Dark Knight Witch, and you're just doomed.
It would be fun if you could do it as a like duos, like rank queue together and do 2v2s, and that was what was expected. Is all right. I'm gonna go find my partner, and we're gonna go do 2v2s together. That would be, I think, a lot more fun.
That would be more enjoyable. I agree.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
then you can then you could like flex around too. It's like, all right, well today I want to play my tagged character, so I'm gonna play like Valk or something like that, and my partner's like, okay, well I'm gonna match your class, and then you can kind of theory craft off of each other with what you're bringing in. But if it's solo queue into duos, like, nah, you miss me with that. I'm not doing that.
I was actually gonna go all in on AoS this time and decided not to after I got like 8 or 9 games in. I was like, by the end of my 10th game, I was like, I hate this. Because like I had gotten high enough in elo that I'm fighting like Cho and stuff, and I'm like, they just run me down, dude. I'm an Awakening Witch, man. I'm just dead. Like I felt miserable, so I tried to audible my build. I was like, all right, well, what if I just go full tank? They grab me. What if I go full damage? They grab me. What if I go hybrid evasion? Oh my god, they grab me. And if
Just
I
grab them
run,
back.
if I run full grapple resist, then my biggest problem with this is they've given people the ability to run full grapple penetration on all of their stuff. So grab resist means nothing. Like grab resist really means almost nothing.
Blue. Don't tell me you're a resist enthusiast.
No, no. Believe me, okay. The only reason I try.
Please.
No, resistances. I think resistances.
Be careful with your words here.
Exposed.
I think that resistance. I know Frosty's like, load the guns, boys. No, I'm saying that in AoS, I was like, all right, I just keep getting run down by warriors. I'm getting run down by the grab classes. I'm gonna try the grab resist. So I put on all this grab resist, and nothing changed. But like, I've always had the opinion that grabs are like a crutch in BDO. I've always had that opinion. Just get better, and then you won't get CC'd, and then you can run more damage.
True DK player.
Yeah, and then you can just run more damage. But like, I do think that like certain classes like Awakening Witch are just, man, they just really struggle, man. Like, there's only so much you can do.
I agree.
To try to get around two
what
warriors
about for
and a Musa.
certain classes? Like you can customize your gear, right? You were just talking about customizing. What if for certain classes you had access to other types of gear? And let's say that other type of gear for Awakening Witch, you had the Tebek necklace as an option.
God, please no.
Okay.
Just for like certain classes, like for Shire and for Witch,
For our listeners that don't know, the Tebek necklace didn't ultimately get introduced to the game, right? And it was this conceived necklace that, like, if you got grabbed or you got CC'd anyway, you could just click this button and it activated inactive where you are no longer CC'd, they are CC'd. And someone at the Pearl Abyss honestly probably got fired for even coming up with that idea. To be honest with you, they introduced it and it was so vehement. I've never seen everyone so unified in their response to that. Like, oh, like what if I was just bad and I could just hit a button and then you were bad and then I wasn't bad anymore?
Uno reverse card.
The main problem with that thing is just like it just screws over melee classes to an infinite extent.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, like a range class just doesn't get punished as a result. That was just the main issue.
That is honestly, as an Awakening Witch, I was like, I strictly profit from this item.
Basically.
I strictly profit from this item, but I was still against it because it's just not fair. I mean, like Awakening Witch is, but I wanted to go hard on AoS, but I have to play Succession if I'm going to do it. And I really don't want to get that sweaty, and I'm never going to beat Belly, so just give up now. But like, I just feel like some classes just are built around the fact that you have to grab them. That's just how they're designed. Awakening Witch can stand in solid protection for basically. I could just keep rotating super armor with massive AoE and damage with all the support in the world. The consequence is I'm standing very still so you can grab me, right? Like, and so in a small focus like that, in a 3v3, it does have its challenges. And so like, I don't know. Armin, what's your, like, I tried the resistances. What's your take on resistances? Like, I know that Frosty wants them just flat out removed from the game. I think that would have negative connotations that we haven't considered yet. But what's your opinion on resistances altogether?
Resistances are a really toxic mechanic because it gives advantages to the more experienced player rather than the worst player, in my opinion. Because if you look at it this way, let's say I'm a new player starting the game, and I'm fighting a guy that's been playing this game, PvPing, for like 3 years. If he's running a full resist build and I'm running a full resist build, which is basically this season of AoS, by the way. If I
Is it
only get
really?
one chance, yeah, it is.
Yep.
This is literally if I only get one chance of CCing him because he's a better player than me, and in that one chance he resists me, well then I'm just gonna lose. Meanwhile, as a worse player, that good player is gonna have like 5 to 10 chances to CC me, and so as a result, the resistance just end up benefiting him more than they do for me. Sure, like you might end up getting saved by him in that 1 in 5, but if you're missing that one chance you ever get to CC that guy because he's just a better player, then it doesn't really benefit you. That's why you see like pretty much all the top players in AoS right now, we all just run resist because you have no real counterplay to it. So that's just my opinion. I think any mechanic like that where you're clearly playing better, or you get a CC opportunity on your opponent and they mess up, and you're just getting screwed over by RNG, and maybe they have a bit more luck than you. It's not really enjoyable for either party. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
my favorite thing right now
yeah.
is the second CC.
yeah,
I feel like I'm on the ground for like 8 seconds at a time. I feel like the 2-second CC system is a joke. I'm counting Mississippi over here, and I am on the ground for 8 Mississippis. Like, it is ridiculous.
that's usually because most people build ignore resist in AoS for their secondary CC. So like a knockdown or something. They'll like stack ignore res on top of it because that's the only they have to do it, right? You're forced to.
So so the option here is what? You just remove resistances from the game?
I mean, I think you do that, and then if there is classes that struggle too much as a result in PvP, like let's say Witch or something, as a result of that change, then you give them proper balance to like compensate for that.
You give them the Tebek necklace, right? Just kidding.
Okay.
Put the gun down, Jay.
But yeah, I
I'm
think
thinking-
that's healthy game design. in my opinion.
I'm thinking of Succession Corsair right now. So like if you
Oh,
remove
I think
resistance,
one of the worst design classes in the game, without a doubt.
yeah,
Oh.
dude, what? No, absolutely. Okay, well, why you explain why you think it's one of the worst design classes with regard to resistance like this, and then I can follow up on it.
I mean, your entire gameplay is based off you praying to fucking Allah.
Don't grab me.
Inshallah, I don't get grabbed
Don't
right
grab
now.
me.
Like,
Don't grab me.
like that's basically your gameplay loop. I mean, I don't think it's fun for the Corsair player, nor is it fun for the player fighting him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So currently, for those listeners who are not aware, Succession Corsair, when it first came out, and still currently has a passive that gives it like 80% grapple resist when it's using some of its skills. It gets a lot of grapple resist when it's using some of its skills. But then later down the road, they changed the resist system kind of on its head. So then you could stack up to 80%. All right, so originally you could only have 60% resist in PvP no matter what, but you could overstack it so that if they had penetration in any way, you could use that overstack to kind of deal with that. So if a warrior, for example, had 40% grab resist and you were running 100% grab resist, you would still have 60% overall grab resist in PvP, if that makes sense. So now you can have 80% resist in PvP, but you cannot overstack. So if you have 185% grab resist, you only have 85% grab resist. And if a warrior has 20% penetration on your 185% grab resist, you still only have 60% grab resist in PvP. So the problem with this, I know that was a little complicated, but the problem with this is that Succession Corsair as a class requires you to hold still for seconds at a time with big, long, super armored damaging skills, which leave you prone to grabs, which is why it has the grapple resist passive. Well, since it can't overstack the percentage anymore, people can just run grab penetration and just immediately grab the Corsair out of every single skill that it does. And if it doesn't grab the Corsair has won the raffle. And that is basically how the class was designed. So like, I think that they would have to majorly rethink most of the game's mechanics for Succession Corsair, Succession Nova even, Witch, Awakening Witch for sure, and a few of the other classes in the game that basically are relatively immobile. They'd have to completely rework those classes in some way, and I'm not really certain how they might do that. if I'm being honest. But looking over, like, Armin, honestly, it looked like the queue system. I want to talk about the queue system for a few minutes. It looked like the queue system was a little bit better this year. Like, well, I don't know.
I agree.
Okay, so yeah. So why do you think it's better? Is it just because the queue times are shorter, or are you getting people that are closer to you in Elo, or?
Basically, how it felt for me my first season was I ended up getting like 300 MMR above people, and I had to wait in a 6-hour queue time for multiple days in a row just to get a game, and I would basically only be able to play 1 to 2 games a day. They changed it during season 2. They're like, okay, sorry about that. Now we're gonna expand the range of the elo, and then season 2, it's like, oh, now I'm getting a game pretty quickly, like after 5 minutes, but then I'm hopping into games with like people that are 800 MMR below me, and then they're not having a fun time in the game because, you know, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but I mean,
he's saying that he was way better.
Well, it's not just that. It's like, if we lost, let's say I lost while I was on their team, then they would get a minus 35. When like, because like I was supposed to carry, but like I wasn't able to do well, so then they just get punished for me playing bad, and I don't think that's fun either. But this season they changed it up. They're like, okay, for the first 2 minutes of your queue time, we're going to prioritize people in your elo range, and as time expands, then we'll expand it down. And now it's a lot better where like, okay, if I want to just get into a game as fast as possible, I'll keep sitting in queue and we'll see what happens. Maybe I get in a game with people at lower elo. If I want to guarantee I get in a higher elo game, I'll queue for 20 minutes and I'll just keep resetting my queue timer every 2 minutes. So that way I can ensure I'm in like a proper elo game. So I think it's a good system nowadays. It gives a bit more option. A lot of people seem happier with it, especially both at higher elo and lower elo. So low elo players aren't, you know, getting screwed over. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. You know, Jay, you haven't been able to talk very much. Have you done AoS at all, Jay?
I've been watching a lot of people do AoS. I actually, so I've been seeing a lot of concerns from people about sort of like class stacking, and what I mean by that is, you know, there's potential of the same class to be in your party, like maybe like you got 2 shies or something, and so I've been seeing a lot of concerns about that. So I would say, I don't know, if I were to make a change, is maybe don't have that.
Dude,
I'm down with that.
Fighting double warrior striker was like the worst experience of my entire life. Like, I was just doomed. There was nothing I could do. I agree. Double classes on the same team is ridiculous.
One other thing that I saw that was very interesting is that I went around some different streams, like C servers, EU servers, and asked them, hey, could I see some of the rankings for some certain classes, like who's at the top, right? And there was on EU, there's shies over there with like 2,000, 2,100 ratings, and on A it's just at 1,600, and I'm like, what are they doing over there?
So
yeah,
that's because there is both insanely good shies in EU. I've played a lot of EU. Insanely good shies in EU, and there is like 2 Russian shies that play on EU from Russia that are insanely good. To the point where, like, if I was gonna play in a tournament, like an AoS tournament, like a TwitchCon again or something, and those guys could be on my team, I would put them for my competitive team. Like, they're crazy good. So,
wow, that's insane.
Yeah, Shai's very good.
Okay, yeah, right, and that's funny because I remember the first season of AoS. Everyone thought that they were griefing.
Yeah.
And nowadays they're just better versions of which.
The buffs kind of go crazy. They let your party have multiple BSRs per match, right? Something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's not like the thing that makes like it so OP, because the buffs are super nice, right? But ultimately you end up in a 2v3. It's the fact that like they can do the marking reagent or whatever, and you can see where people V2. And
the Rabam, right?
Yeah, and they'll like bubble people's Vs so that when they come out of the V, they can't get killed or CC.
Oh,
what?
No, or like if somebody Vs on top of them, like an enemy, they'll bubble them so they're stuck in there, and when they come out of V, they're guaranteed to die. There's a lot of crazy tech that I've seen those guys do.
That is sick.
Do they stream? I want to watch them.
Yeah,
none of them stream. None of them
stream. How do you know
Wutaro's in shambles right now.
You fought against them.
I've fought with them and against them. Yeah, I played with them a lot.
Oh my god. That's crazy.
That's insane. Okay, and so like, what are some of the best classes that we've experienced in PvP or in AoS so far? Well, Armin will put you last. Tiltus, what do you think? Strongest classes.
So I haven't played since earlier last week, but I know that my least favorite thing to deal with was fucking still Zerkers. I hate them on DK so much. I can't stand them.
Really?
I fought a
On
Mystic,
DK?
and that thing fell over. Yeah, on DK. It's hard to CC them, and if you stand still for too long, they'll grab you. So you have to just... I don't play Suck, bro. I'm Awakened. My animations are long.
I get that. It's even stronger. I don't know. I felt like Awakening DKs were pretty solid against Zerker.
It's just that it depends on if you land the CC. It's one of those things where it's like I can't greed with my skills because if I stand still for too long, a Zerker will grab me, and I hate that so much. I can't stand. I have like, you remember Max? I still have like war flashbacks of Max just running at me and grabbing me out of my skills. It makes me so mad. So I have a mental block against Zerkers. I hate them.
Jay, Jay, do you have it? I don't think you've played it all. Have you seen something that looks OP to you?
Yeah, actually, I've been seeing a lot of crazy Awakening Novas like running around, and they're just like, I don't know what they do, but they just keep killing people instantly.
Accelerate.
I've only really seen
accelerate
2 or 3 of those.
Yeah. I respect people that play Awaken Nova, though. It's a little bit different for me.
The biggest standout class for me that I have seen on the ladder so far has been Awakening Dracania this season. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like I've got them in every match, and they feel so strong. Their damage is good. They've got excellent mobility, plenty of iframes. It just feels really powerful. And then I think Zerker is really strong as well. But I think Dracania is really the big standout for me. Armin, all right. What do you think? What's OP this season?
You want me to just give you my top 5?
Just give it to me.
Yeah.
Number 1, Awakening Drac.
Let's go! I nailed that. Let's do it.
Number 1, for sure.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Awakening Nova. Number 3, this is where it gets a bit tricky. I'd probably put Shy or what was the other one? One sec. I'm pulling up. I made a tier list for this.
Awakening Witch.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Where is Awakening Witch on that tier list?
She straight it. Okay. Unironically though, there was an Awakening Witch that like saved my life with the group teleport. I got CC'd and he aimed.
I've done that before.
That skill is so good.
Really
That skill
good.
is so good.
Houston AoS.
Oh,
It's really
okay.
good, yeah.
Until you get bubbled by Shy.
I mean, I haven't.
so
Funny enough, I haven't ran into a single Shy on NA. Not a single one.
Oh, really?
I haven't
I
actually
ran
found
into
one
a
either.
couple last season.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm gonna reiterate the list just a little bit. Number 1, I'd put Awakening Nova. Number 2, Awakening Valk. Number 3, Did I say Awakening Nova first? Sorry, Awakening Drac, Awakening Valk, Awakening Nova, Shy, and then 5 is just kind of in the air. You could put like Suck Meiwa or Suck Ninja or even like Awakening Hashfair. That one's just kind of in the air.
Okay, how do you
That's probably
feel?
my top 5.
How do you feel Ninja does in general? You're obviously a little biased, but for your average Ninja player, do you feel like it's strong in AoS? I feel like Ninja's probably pretty good in a 3v3.
For the average Ninja player, no. I think most average Ninja players, they think it's good, but like I think most of them do struggle because you have to have a decent amount of experience to some extent to like not.
They're not Armin.
So. I don't know. No. It's not like that. Like, there's a lot of other Ninja players that do insanely well. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, really?
But it's like, I don't know. We just kind of flop on the floor sometimes. It's called the Ninja Classic, where you just focus the ninja and then he'll flop. Yeah,
I love ninjas because they are inevitably super unprotected. So I just stand there on my witch and I just throw out skills, and eventually the idiot does something wrong and he dies. One of the easiest matchups for me, unless the ninja is super experienced. If I just avoid the grab, they're just dead.
That's basically how it is. It's like if he plays well, then he's scary. If he doesn't play well, it's just a free kill.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a Ninja probably plays very similar to DK, where it's more about your knowledge of what your opponent's doing rather than what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then it's also about knowledge of like where do I need to be at any given moment.
Yep.
Like Because I'm not looking to 1v1 you. That's not my thing. I'm looking to be on the side and catch you, or I'm looking to sniff your V or do those kind of things. Like it plays very differently, and that's I think what makes it challenging.
You explained it perfectly.
Yeah. How do you feel? There's a lot of hate out there for Awakening Ranger. How do you guys feel about Awakening Ranger? Again, Armin, we'll do you last just to see, because I want to see. Jay, how do you feel about Awakening Ranger and PvP in general? I know you can't really speak on AoS experience.
Awakening Ranger. Well, what I can tell you is that at Olin's Valley,
I
they actually
knew
do
he
a lot
was
of
gonna
single
say
target.
I knew he was going to be like, well, in PvE.
They do really well at Olin's Valley. So I don't know if that translates to AoS in terms of single target, but I can rely on them at Olin's Valley.
They don't die. Tiltus, how do you feel Awakening Ranger is?
Ban them. Give me an AoS ban and I'll ban it. I'm not even kidding. Awaken Ranger is probably the one of the single worst DK matchups that you can possibly have, especially on Awakening, because all they'll do is they'll just flip around you and wait for you to go in a long animation, and then they'll grab you and you're done. And you can't CC them, you can't do anything, you don't even chip damage them. They're just like, I'm hopping around and here you're doing a long animation, here you're grabbed now, goodbye.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll be honest. I think it's just the same thing as Ninja. In my opinion, it's the same thing as Ninja, because like, if they're bad, I'm just gonna run that kid. That dude is dead. There's like nothing he's gonna be able to do. But if they're really good, like if you're fighting flannels, obviously the dude's playing on another level. It's gonna feel like, well, if I put too much pressure on him, then I'm just gonna die. And if I don't put enough pressure on him, then he's gonna kill me and I'm dead. So the class can feel very oppressive, but I do feel like it's a very skill-based thing, a lot like Ninja. Armin, what's your take on Awakening Ranger? You hate him?
I mean, I just hate them because they're good into my class, but in AoS, it's not really the scariest class in my opinion. Like, it's really annoying to deal with, but especially because it has so much damage. Like, if he gets you on the ground, he'll kill you. Like, it's super scary. But I don't know. It's hard to explain. The thing is about Ranger, there's not a lot of people that play it. Like, at least on Ninja, you kind of have that weeb appeal. So a lot of people play it, resulting in more players. So
the Naruto appeal.
You're gonna have more good players on the class, so it's kind of like a bit different. But on Awakening Ranger, like, you have like maybe 2 or 3 really good Rangers in NA that I'll see in games. And then outside of that, like, if I run into other Rangers, then I'm just like, oh, like, I'll just play this slow and this guy will eventually die.
Right.
So I don't know. It's super annoying to fight regardless, though. Just the fact that they're so easily protected. I can agree with that.
Yeah. How do you guys feel? Nobody said anything about Meiwa. I feel like Succession Meiwa is one of the highest DPS class. The class is.
I put it in my top 5 potentially. I definitely put it up there.
Oh, did you?
I said it's either
yes.
Awakening Hash,
Dude.
Suck Ninja, or Suck Meiwa. It's one of those.
Like Tiltus earlier was like, yeah, no, I don't find myself dying from standing. I'm like, this dude hasn't queued against the fucking Meiwa yet, man. Like that.
No, I fought against 2 of them. Literally the first day I played. It wasn't. I mean, it was rough, but it's one of those things where they play a very similar style to Musa, and I fought my GM so many times on Musa that I know not to stand still against that class.
Yeah,
so I just dodge around. I just iframe.
It's not even really just standing still. If she's around you for longer than about 2 seconds, she is behind you and she has casted both skills that kill you. I don't even know what the skills are called. I'm not very familiar with Succession Meiwa. I know Awakening Meiwa pretty well, but
Blooming's the one that drains your shit.
Yeah, it just destroys me.
Oh, the
dude.
resource? Yeah, drains your resource.
I get
right.
absolutely
she sucks you
bodied.
off, literally.
Yeah. Let's back up for a minute.
No. He said it right.
Yeah. So on the question of balance, I'm actually curious what your guys' thoughts on what's the current state of balance in BDO? Do you feel that most classes are balanced right now? Do you feel like there's something like way out of whack? Again, Armin, will leave you for last. Jay, do you feel like something is way out of whack from a PvE standpoint? Is there one class or 2 or 3 classes that are way out of whack, or do you feel like they're all relatively in the same spot? Are they close?
In terms of PvP, I
PV
might not know too.
No,
In
PvE.
I'd
Yeah.
love to hear your PVE take. Actually,
Yeah,
I'm
I'd like to hear
curious.
the PvE take.
I think it depends on like the spot that you're in, that really gets the class to shine. Like for example, like I know Awakening Witch for a while now she's been struggling, but they buffed her like so much that she's doing like top tier numbers right now for like certain spots. Like for example, Ash Forest. Do you know about the seed tech? There's a seed tech where you can do like 4K plus Ash Trash. You basically get double the amount of ghosts because if you use your red orb to aggro the ghost force, the you know the ghost that yells at all the other ghosts, the Barnas,
Yeah.
and then you hit the seed, you double the amount of mobs you can pull that you can damage as well. And so like, there's these Awakening Witches and Suck Witches doing like 4.5k trash with just the blue. And so like for certain spots, like certain classes just look really really good. I do think it just like overall, I think Wusa has been up there. Like my top, I would say my top 3 classes right now. It's heavily biased towards Olens. I think Olens is one of those spots that really tests your mastery over your class. Are you able? Like I can see, I've been playing with like certain players who play the same class that are like really good. Like let's do like the same person on Wusa on this group and then the same person on Wusa on another group, and I'm doing like the whole group is doing like 20% more damage because that person just knows how to play Wusa better than that other person or something like that. But in terms of my top 3 people, at least at Olenzali, it would be Awakening Nova, Wusa, and Shy. Obviously Shy has to be up there because you need a Shy, but
Curious, Jay, have you grinded with other Sec Ninjas at all?
Suck Ninjas, you're the only ninja for me that I've grinded with.
Everybody likes their fingers too much to grind on that class. There's just no way.
True. Yeah, there's.
I don't blame him.
And that you were the very first Awakening Ninja that I've also grinded with. And
okay,
let me tell you, can you stay on Suck Ninja?
Yeah, that class sucks.
We grouped up. We grouped up earlier today. I was like, something's different about the damage. It's just not the same.
We missed every single push. It was like every single push.
Armin's
Maybe
like,
we're
doing
just
another hour.
right now,
Armin's like, you're doing another hour, and Jay's like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go take a break for a little while, and then he sees him grinding. Like 20 minutes later, Olin's Valley looking for group. Like, okay, right on. That's good. So you feel like PvE overall is relatively balanced across the board, based on the amount of spots that are in the game and certain classes being good at different spots. I will say that Awakening Witch is really good at Ash Forest, but Ash Forest is where dreams go to die, so it doesn't really count as a grind zone. In my mind, I hate it so
That'll
much.
change soon, hopefully.
No, it's not going to get any better. Don't do this. There is no light in the tunnel. There is no light.
The light comes from your lantern.
I hate
it comes from the Dekia's lantern. Would your opinion have changed if your Deboreka did not downgrade all the way to base like 3 times?
You shut your mouth. That had absolutely no sway in my opinion of that godforsaken grind zone. That horrendous place. Literally, I have never seen a place of such scum and villainy. Honestly, miserable. All right,
now there's Dekia's Ash soon tomorrow.
Oh, really? It's coming out. So we're getting the lantern tomorrow. Oh my gosh, Jay's up tremendous. Okay. Tiltis, how do you feel the balance is in the game right now? Do you feel like there's any classes, and this is for PvP now? Do you think anything's out of balance?
The classes as a whole, I'd say, feel like way better, I think, than they have in the past. There are still some outliers, though, I think, across the board. I think Drak in PvP, just across the board in PvP, is broken. And I think Awakened Sage in PvP is, like, really bad. So there's, like, 2, like, ends of the spectrum where I do think there are some classes that could be brought down just a little bit. I think there's some classes that could use a little bit of love as well. But I think overall the balance is like fairly good. There's still always going to be your niche classes that like you're always going to want more of. You're always going to want more Zerkers. You're always going to want more Shies. You're always going to want more staffs. But as a whole, it feels like pretty much everything is viable to some extent. And if you're good at the class and you enjoy playing it, then that goes a mile and a half further than everything else.
Yeah. So My take on this is I think that the balance right now is super boring. As I have explained before, I think that balance is a lot like a snow globe. I think that like initially that they should shake everything up, like they change a lot of stuff all at once. Shake it up, really get the flurries going, and then you can hot fix certain things and like fix stuff, and then over time the dust kind of settles, and then you get a very clear image of what the meta should be, and like each class comes out in their own right. And I think that's where we're at. I would like to see them shake it up. I would like to see them change a bunch of classes all at once, add some stuff. Like, I don't know, like the witch, wizard and witch mass teleport. You could add more skills like that to each of the classes, add more like the special passives to the game. Maybe add more damage here or there, stuff like that. I'd just like to see them mix it up. I just feel it's kind of boring. In my opinion right now. Armin, where do you think we're at in terms of overall class balance?
What kind of PvP are we talking about? Because it's all relevant.
I'll get to that. I get to that later. The PvP you find relevant. So in this case, I guess AoS, right? You love AoS, so like.
I mean, AoS balance is like really weird because it's been basically the same for all 3 seasons. I mean, I don't know. If certain classes do good damage, it's good. If you don't do good damage, then you're kind of bad. If you're easy to get grabbed, you're bad. If you're hard to get grabbed, you're good. I don't think AoS balance is also really relevant to the rest of the game, which like most people care about, like large scale and stuff. So most of the time when it comes to me like complaining or talking about balance, it's usually for open world and large scale, where it's, you know, I guess kind of the main game. And for me right now, I can kind of agree with the sentiment of it's really boring. Ever since reboots happened, it's literally just been, if you're not playing a range class in large scale, and you basically are forced to playing between like 4 melee classes. Now it's like, okay, Awakening Musa, Awakening Dracania, Succession Berserker, and maybe like 1 more melee class. And outside of that, you're pretty irrelevant as a melee player. You're maybe getting a few feeds every here, once and there, but in terms of actually affecting your guild's performance and like group play, most guilds aren't even going to take you. A good example is like, okay, like let's say like my Suck Ninja, right? It's like good in like AoS, but like when it comes to like the rest of the game and like large scale and stuff, like my guild refuses to recruit ninja players.
I was gonna say, Roots looks at you.
Serious.
Roots looks at you and he's like, "You're not bringing that to war, right?"
Yeah, I mean, like, they literally were like, "Hey, if you guys play Suck Zerk for like this month, you'll get like T10 payout." And it's like they're like, "Yeah, can you bring your Zerker today?" Like, and I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I understand completely the reason why. It's just my like melee classes just aren't fun to play and they suck. Yeah. And it was at a point where even when I was tagging between like Suck Musa, I was trying all these different classes, and I was just like, I'm not really getting that enjoyment I used to. I watched like a montage from what was it, like 2018 or 2017, and I saw like open field skirmish fights where everyone is like melee, you know, the caster players that you did have at that time, you know, they're still having to dive bomb you in close range. I kind of just miss that feeling because I think everyone had a bit more fun at that time. So I don't know. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, people understood the game less then too. Right, over time in every game, whether it be League of Legends, StarCraft 2, Overwatch, you know, whatever it is, like as players get better and better at the game, a meta definitely develops. So I think part of that is people just kind of sucked back then.
I mean, maybe, but I would disagree, especially when it's like I'm watching like the highest level of fights back then. And I mean, we could say the same thing 3 years down the line looking at our current meta. I mean, that's never going to change at the end of the day.
So you feel the players that played 3 years ago are better than the players that play today, like the top end PvPers?
No. I mean, I just say that if that happens and everyone keeps developing, then that's naturally going to happen like from the future from now as well. So using that as like, oh, like, you know, maybe the game was more fun back then because of that. I just feel like it's kind of like a throwaway a little bit, I guess. In a sense, like
the rose-colored glasses effect.
Yeah. I just feel like that it doesn't like stop or change the fact that if you're not playing the same class that we've been playing for the past like year and a half in large scale, you're just like not playing it right.
Yeah, I will say that melees are definitely at a disadvantage in large scale PvP as far as like, I mean, honestly, it's really funny when the Rangers and the Archers talk about how hard their positioning is. And I think over to like melee assassins and Zerkers and stuff, who actually have to extend themselves to do anything at all. And Rangers and Archers really only have to worry about kiting backwards when someone comes near them. That's their job. Like you don't go out near anybody and you just kite back. And they say it's really hard to do, and that just tickles me every time. I will say that, like we talked about on a previous podcast, how we would love to see more types of classes introduced to the game. The last like a gajillion classes have all been assassins. I haven't seen a support style class since what, Shy?
Yep.
But like, and then before that it was Caster. So like I would love to see more of like melee support styles that aren't Shy, right? Like they could still do damage, kind of like an Awakening Caster or something. Give melees some more tools. There's so much more they're like learning to do. I feel like new classes sometimes are like, hey, look what we can do with our game now.
Megu.
Right? Like look at these cool things we can do with our game now. We can do like clones and stuff. I would love to see them add some more melee mechanics that make melees just a lot more threatening. In large scale overall.
I honestly think they should get down to where it's just physical and magic damage and get rid of range damage entirely and just lump it in with physical. And then all you have to do to buff melee classes is to give them a little bit of like physical protection, and then you're probably golden. Then you can swing melees back into the meta where they're not, getting blasted off screen by somebody.
Like when I open my siege feed, right, and then I see the top guy is an archer with like 100 more kills than every other class, and I open his clips POV from the war, and it's just him sitting at render distance, spamming the same 2 skills, killing 8 players in a row that he didn't even interact with, and they didn't even know he was existing.
Somebody else went and knocked them down. He just had the most damage at the right time, so he just hit the buttons.
I mean, it's just, I think it's a bit boring.
I will say that, most of the comments on my Archer video when I did my Choose Your Class Guide series are, this is ridiculous. Archer has one of the highest skill ceilings in the game. We have to kite and position perfectly all the time. And Armin's not wrong. Like the dude, the 300 kills he's just constantly, he's standing at render distance, just blowing people away.
His positioning is literally, am I in render range? Yes or no?
Exactly, dude. Like you could just constantly shoot stuff. But like, okay, so this leads into my question. How do you feel like the developers should approach class balance? Should they be balancing around large scale, AoS, open world, uncapped, capped? Like, what's particular type of game mode? All right, Armin, go ahead.
Easy answer.
Yeah.
Nerf classes instead of buffing everything. There you go. That's the easy answer.
Well, nerf it. Buff it around
they
what?
Balance around.
Or nerf it around what?
I mean, like, I don't care what they balance around. They could balance around group play, top player opinions, things like that. At the end of the day, I just think the main issue is like they keep buffing everything. So at the end of the day, like, I mean, how do I explain this? The entire. Yeah, the power creep, like that's basically the reason we're resulting in archers one-shotting people at render distance.
You're not wrong.
Even if they balance archer around like AoS or something like that, and then they nerfed other classes to like maybe meet him in the middle ground, then I think it overall would just be a better position.
But which type of game mode? Which type of game mode do you think that should it be AoS, large scale? Which one would you like to see them balance around? Like, which one is important, or do you think is most important to the PvP player base as a whole?
I mean, I think that's just so hard to answer. I have no clue. Every single version of PvP has a different gear score, damage modifier, health pool, and maybe I have split damage in this one, or maybe in this one I have a little bit more evasion, so my class is tankier, so now it's good. I mean, like, I don't know. It's way too hard. Maybe large scale, but I
have a very specific answer.
Yeah, so I only bring it up because people complain about class balance all the time, and then I ask them the same question. Okay, well, what should they balance around? What aspect of people? And then they all have the same answer Armin did. Oh, well, we're not really. Well, we don't really know for sure.
No, I have a very specific answer for what all large scale or what all PvP should strive to feel like.
Okay.
all PvP except uncapped, which should be completely left to whatever the fuck your gear is and whatever the fuck your build is. All capped content of any kind, which is 80% of this game at this point, should feel like T3 caps. Period.
Well, wait a minute. Well, if that's the case, why have different caps then?
Because what you do is you make the caps feel like T3 caps, but with different numbers of gear. That's why T1 intermediates feel like T3s, but you have HP caps on them. You have lower gear score requirements. So that way you can be learning what the game is going to be feeling like the most as you progress in gear. I should not be like one-shotting like structures in T2s. There's way too much damage in T2s. It's the most ridiculous thing on the planet.
It's a little ridiculous. Yeah.
But like, and then T1 beginners, everybody's way too tanky for no reason. Like, it takes 5 people dogpiling one guy that's been CC'd to kill that player. That's too tanky.
Oh, I remember my T1 days.
T1 intermediates feel good,
Filthy
and
Blitz
T3s feel good. If you can make every capped situation feel like those, but with different levels of gear, then it would be like this very consistent flow of like, okay, here's what the game feels like. And then you get to uncapped. And if you're doing uncapped, you need to be like geared because it is uncapped. Then it's going to be, okay, am I evasion meme? Am I fucking full damage? Am I accuracy out the roof so I can kill all the evasion players? Like, then it opens you up into like, okay, now I'm specializing my build. But if they just made 80% of the game all feel the same way, it would be so much easier to just like tell a player like, okay, yeah, you want to start playing the game? Okay, you're going to feel great playing this class the whole time you're playing it. And I think it would be way better to like balance the game around, like balance individual class balance around too. Because like you can't balance the game around like, I mean, Archer is really good, but I'll use Archer as an example. What if Archer felt absolutely horrible on everything but T2s, but then the T2 players are just up in arms because there's so much damage in T2s that Archers are just blowing everybody away? Well, then you have all these people crying about how strong Archer is, but in reality, it's not that strong on all the other caps because they feel entirely different. So I think that a standardized, like, okay, this is what everybody should be one comboable. You need to know your combo, and if you go up against a tankier class for whatever reason, or somebody that's giga stacked HP, you have to go for the risky, like unprotected super maximum damage combo in large scale, and then you get punished for it. Like, there's all these different things that allow you to play around the game when it's like a consistent grade of like, all right, I have 500 gear score, but I feel like I'm one comboable in a T1. I have 600 gear score. I feel like I'm one comboable on T2s. I have 700 gear score. I feel like I'm one comboable on T3s. Then I get to uncaps. Does that make sense? Like, you just make it feel the same, but with varying amounts of gear as you move up.
I think that makes it just way less interesting. If you're always doing the same damage no matter what, and then your gear just doesn't feel like it matters. Like, why would I even bother going from T1 to T3 if I'm doing the same amount of damage at every level?
But
just
T1 intermediates and T3s already feel the same. The only difference is you have HP caps on T1s.
I have a decent answer, and this is probably what I would put if you were going to ask me this question. Like, it's like, I think they should just do it on a class-by-class basis so that every class feels decently good in every form of the game. So, for example, like, let's say Awakening Witch, right? Or Witch in general. It's a class that, like, definitely feels a lot better as you go into more and more players in, like, group play and, like, large scale and shit like that, right?
Yep.
But the thing is like, it feels like dog water as you're playing in, like, small scale. Yep. So my perspective is like, okay, why don't they, maybe take away one tool from their large scale play and then give them a small scale tool, kind of a give and take scenario. Meanwhile, like Archer, they're like, oh my God, Archer's so down bad. It's so down bad. Let's buff it. Everyone's like, oh my God, Archer buffs. And then they just buff the damage even more and give them more more large scale tools. Like, it doesn't really make sense, right? Why wouldn't, if this large scale was already doing well, why wouldn't you buff it small scale so that it's equal in every portion of the game? But it doesn't make sense to me, the direction they take. And that's why I said the nerf thing specifically, or like even like a give and take scenario. It makes more sense because my ninja, I'm really in a good spot in like small scale scenarios, but my large scale feels like dog water. So then why don't you take one of my small scale scenario or like tools away and then give me a large scale tool to help me out more in my group play and like, dive bombing or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
Like a
that would
skill tree?
overall. Yeah,
Like a talent tree?
something. No, not necessarily like that. Just like remove like a CC here on this skill that is like really important in my small scale play, and then give me a protection here so that I have maybe some more protected damage. That's like what I struggle with in large scale. Something like that. I mean, it's hard
Like more
because you have to
core
go.
skills, like options. Like
Oh, I hate core
can-
skills. Dude.
No. I
hate those.
I'm not saying this like every class should be getting this. I'm saying this as in like they should go class by class. They should know their classes well enough to know why they're good in small scale and why they're bad in large scale, or vice versa. And then based off of their knowledge and experience, like make a decision from there. The issue that I think that's the ideal world, right? But the issue that comes with that is that it almost feels like sometimes they don't know their classes well enough to make decisions like that, and I can say that based off of the archer changes that happened.
Yeah, I mean,
the archers were not asking for more damage.
They were asking for like a bit more protection, so their small scale didn't get gimped constantly. But then they just were like, all right, here's just like 1 billion damage. It's just
this will
it's
help, right?
strange.
yeah.
Yeah, it's strange.
I mean, so I think that they should balance. All right, so there's 2 different ways they could go with it. If they want to go towards like lean into the fact that they're an MMO and this is a massive multiplayer online game and people are designed to play together, then I think that they should balance around large scale PvP. The problem is that BDO is not a game that is designed to play together. And so if they want to, like, am I wrong?
You're not. That's why
that's the problem. So if they want to go the other way with it, if they want to go towards the more competitive aspect of it and balance around the 3v3s and 1v1s, well, then I want to see them balance around AoS and get esports ready. That is a meme. I know it's a meme.
God,
That
don't.
is so
But like,
dope.
it's a meme. It's a meme. But like, I want to see them go one way or the other. I honestly do.
Do you remember
Like,
BDO's esports scene, bro?
There has
bring
never
it
been a
back.
BDO esports scene.
No, there has.
No.
Don't bring it back.
Yes?
My point.
Yes.
What?
Don't
No,
bring
there
it
hasn't.
back.
No, they've never had
The
a
black.
BDO.
You don't remember the Black Spirit League?
No, that was
What?
a
The Black
creator.
Spirit League?
No, a creator
just
put that on.
community hosted.
Yeah, that was a
It
community
wasn't
thing.
actually-
That was not an
yeah.
actual esports league.
The Black Spirit League? I like that
like,
name.
I mean, I actually.
Ironically, this game could have like a
It
decent
could.
esports.
That's what I-
but
yeah.
they're so bad. They don't know
I
what
know.
they're doing. I'm gonna be
I
honest
know.
with you.
So like,
They
I
have
would
no
The
like-
name of the channel was literally BDO_esports. What are you on about?
But
Do
that's
not lie to me.
No, but it's not.
It was
It was a
just
creator.
a community.
It was a
hosted
community.
thing.
Yeah, it was a
Really?
community
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That was not hosted by Pearl Abyss at all. Like I don't even think they supported it with a prize pool or anything. I think nowadays if we put it on, if one of the partners put it on, they would probably support it with a prize pool every week, or every month or whatever they wanted to do.
Delph, you listen?
Yeah, dear Delphi. But I think that like if they want to go, like if they want to keep this more solitude style play where like you can party up every once in a while, but mainly the game is kind of solo and you just sit in Discord with your friends, I would love to see them transition to more of like, okay, let's take this a little bit more seriously from a competitive aspect, because they definitely have the tools. As Armin said, like the game could be incredibly competitive, depending on how they want to balance it. Right? If they want to balance it really competitively like that and move towards an esports style scene, which I'll be honest with you would probably be better for the game overall. Usually when you see an esports scene for a game, it
Like
gets
at
a
WoW
lot more.
arenas.
Yeah, exactly. It gets way bigger. Right? Like WoW arenas, Overwatch got way bigger with its esports scene. Obviously, League of Legends.
Okay, let's not talk about Overwatch.
Right.
Come on, man, please.
Okay, that was tragic.
No,
But, like,
let's not talk
It
about
died
that
because
one.
they're over. Like they're pet.
I know what you mean, but
Yeah.
that one's a bad example. That was a
Bruce,
bad
yeah,
example.
okay, all right.
Back your franchise
StarCraft 2.
spots.
Right?
This is
StarCraft
coming
2.
from a guy that was gonna play an owl. Like, please
Oh,
don't. Please
feels
don't.
bad. Welcome to the real esports game, Keck
It
W.
was so bad, man.
Welcome to the Black Spirits League.
But like, yeah, League of Legends. So like, usually it's good for the game when you have like those big competitive tournaments. And I will say that like the game usually never has more viewers than when there's a really big competitive tournament going on of some kind, whether it be the best in class or the best in guild tournaments, or at one of the community hosted ones or whatever. People love that competitive style of PvP. So I actually, if we're going to balance between the two of them, I'd love to see them move towards more of an esports style thing, which means that they should balance around AoS, specifically because that's as capped and standardized as we've got in the game.
You know what they could do? they can make a mode where, you know, like there's one side that has like a nexus and there's like 3 lanes, and then you're using
Jay, Jay,
minions. Like,
Jay, put the gun down. Step
I
away
will
from the
say-
firearm.
I'm just saying.
That if they actually finally, I prayed Allah that they add a spectator mode and a way to actually like
There it
host
is.
games
Yes.
in AoS.
Dude.
I would personally,
Both of us.
unironically,
Yeah.
think about hosting tournaments. Like genuinely,
So would
I
I.
would do NA and EU. Like, but I
Yeah.
just don't for some
Yeah.
reason. I don't understand it.
It's
The
the
trick-
most low-hanging fruit. I told them this back when AOS started. I went directly to the CMs and GMs, and I know they brought it to the developers and said something about it. I was like, we need a spectate mode, not just so that we can make more content off of the AOS matches, because I'll be honest with you, obviously that helps me tremendously, because like I'm not Armin, I can't just go play at rank 1. But like I could shoutcast matches all the time, and that would be excellent content. And it would be good content for teaching players PvP and stuff. But like really the spectate feature that exists in almost every competitive game that there is. There's some sort of spectate feature where you can watch high level players play in their matches. Right? Like that needs to be a thing, because it as complex as our PvP system is, like this is a no-brainer. Like this would help new players get involved in the game, watch how their class gets played. They get to go see, okay, I'm playing Ranger. Oh, there's a Ranger right there. They don't know who Flannels is, but they get to watch him, right? Like, and it would introduce them to the different players in the game, and then they could whisper them and ask questions and stuff. Like, I don't know. I think it's just a slam dunk for them. I can't believe they came out with it this time, and there's no spectate feature.
Yeah, I
Jay
think
could go watch those Russian shies.
True.
true. I would all NA shies to go watch
The
them if they're that good.
Russians.
I think one of the big things I think that Prolibus struggles with right now is I don't honestly think they're 100% sure where they want to take their game right this moment. I think they've got a whole bunch of ideas and they're throwing things out and seeing what sticks. And I think Ball Splits was such a fucking like good thing for BDO that they're just like, okay, what other things can we do that are going to stick? My copium that I have right now is that we've got, you know, the big PvE buffs. We've got some nice quality of life buffs across the board. The next one surely has got to be PvE or PvP, right? Like that's the next thing they're going to be touching.
Well,
That's my big copium.
so I hate to break it to you. I actually think that it's the opposite. I think they have a very firm handle on what they're trying to do with BDO. I think they went in one direction for a long time, and now they're like, okay, we have to hit the player base for PvE. We've got to start getting these PvE players, like hooked onto BDO.
Hi.
Like, right? Jay, you were the exception to the rule. They could literally have thrown you dog food, and you would have gobbled it up and
Yes.
eaten it and said, "This is
They
I
did
would.
for like a year before
I
like
have
old ones
been.
came out.
Yeah. Yeah. They handed you garbage, and you were like, "This is amazing PvE
Oh my
content,"
God,
because you
yeah.
had never experienced anything else. But yeah, no, I actually think that they have a pretty solid idea of where they want to go, and it's in a PvE direction with the game. So they want to expand on the game's PvE content, and I think that they could do that while balancing around AoS and making PvP more competitive without necessarily having to add more PvP content to the game, which we will get into.
Well, just the reason I say that is because I feel like AOS this season was an afterthought. I feel like it was something that NA
was.
screamed and shouted for so long that they finally were like, all right, fine. Like, we'll do it. That's why I feel like there was no new systems. They were just like, here's some new maps that are poorly optimized and nobody likes. So
I kind of like them. They're pretty.
I mean, I feel like that just reaffirms the thought, though, that they're just going in a PvE direction. I mean, I haven't seen a PvP tournament in it's been close to a year almost. I mean,
Yeah.
What was the last one?
Best in Guild.
Best in Guild. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been
Best
close
in
to a
Guild.
year.
Well, I
So
would
I don't
say
know.
it's been 7 months. 7 months.
I think they've given up on PvP almost, is what it feels like.
yeah,
I don't feel
I think it's a lot of work for them, and nobody will ever be happy with PvP. I think is the other thing too.
I mean, I disagree with that take. I think it's just because they do such a bad job. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't really think it's
XCM,
that
ladies
hard.
and gentlemen.
I mean, I speak my mind freely. I speak
know,
my
it's
mind.
like-
Like, there's things they
would-
do well, but I don't know.
I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and they were busy with the Festa and all the other stuff that they were talking about with the Festa.
That's why I'm
It's
hoping that
just
the next big
me-
update is going to be touching PvP again.
Yeah, maybe it's
Well,
gonna be more.
I mean, October
PvP
is just
stuff.
around the corner, boys.
just-
We're coming up on it. It's
I was gonna
almost
say,
here.
I just want to point out that they actually are coming out with new PvP content. It's called War of the Roses. And I was initially super excited for this, and now I'm a little skeptical as to how this is going to work. Are they just going to give us a week off of Siege? Like, because like if you
know
take
nothing about
this
that.
this is a 300 versus 3. I mean, they said it's coming in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. This is right
there's
around
an
the corner.
announcement. There's an announcement coming for War of the Roses.
Oh, never mind. That's coming in 2029.
Yeah. So in the Festa, they said there will be an update to War of the Roses in August. So we're getting close to update time.
Okay. All right.
But
So my
I
question.
don't think we're getting War of the Roses in August. Y'all
All right.
are actually coping if you think that's going to happen.
My question is, if you take 600 players out of the PvP scene for the week, is there a siege?
Do we have 600 players in the PvP scene, Blue? Let's be honest.
I'm looking-
Let's be honest here. Let's be honest here.
I'm thinking about this. Do we? No. Do we have 600 uncapped players in the PvP
Yeah.
scene?
Yeah.
Like how many players,
I mean,
Trick, yeah.
by show of hands, are ready to fight Cho Nation? Because you know it's Cho versus Digi, and you better have 725 gear score at a minimum, or you're a gearlet going into that game mode. So how many of those people do we have? A. B. How many guilds are going to take the week off and just let their players do War of the Roses? Do you think Corrupt's just going to let half their guild do War of the Roses and then the other half come fuck around at a siege? I don't think so. I think that they have to take a week off of siege, otherwise no one does it because they have obligations to their own guild. I'm really skeptical as to how it's going to work. I think it would be really cool if they just did it as an open world thing. Crazy idea.
That's what
Crazy
I said,
idea.
too.
I'm gonna say something,
Go ahead.
and like this is my biggest skepticism about the whole thing.
Mhm.
We can talk about players, we can talk about all this. Let's just assume we had everything that meets the filling
Right.
grounds.
Uh-huh.
The issue is like, bro, I'm grinding Olins and I'm getting lag spikes. I watched a EU siege today. It was 70 versus 70, just 70 versus 72 guilds, and they were having massive lag issues. So I can only imagine that a 300 versus 300 mode, and let's say you fill this up, I don't think the servers are gonna handle it. I mean, genuinely, like
That's
we've all done siege. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Jay's done it probably a decent amount. He said it, right?
Yeah.
We know how laggy it is. and
Yeah.
I can only imagine. Like I don't think it's gonna work out even in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that, honestly, I felt like the lag last week on Medaya was actually okay. But, like, I really think that this game mode it might just tank. I'm very skeptical that it might just tank just because either there won't be enough people to do it, or because the servers will just poop themselves. I think it's built on the idea that people are going to be spread out, right? It's actually a pretty big zone if you look at it. It's built on this idea that you're going to have different platoons pushing different zones at different times, but you still have 600 people sitting in southern Commissylvia. I would way rather it have been server wars. I think this is the finished project of server wars, which is what they introduced to us many years ago at a ball and then never talked about again, where you had one region versus another region, and it was this constant ongoing open world PvP battle where your guild basically allied with one region or another, and you had to fight the other regions and invade them and raid them, and if you took their home command post, your entire server got a buff, or like everybody on your side got like a big drop rate buff or something, and things like this. I think that War of the Roses is a perfect opportunity to just do that. And then you don't have overwhelming server stress. You have much more open world PvP content going on, because like at any time of the day, you can just get together a raid party and be like, hey boys, let's go try and take that outpost. You know what I mean? And then you push an outpost, and you try and push it down and like take something, and it feels meaningful. I think that would be really cool. I'm really skeptical to see how it goes. I mean, they've promised us, they're like, oh yeah, it's going to be 300 versus 300. By the way, there's boats in here. You're going to have a commander. Somebody's playing Ender's Game up top, fucking moving platoons around and shit. With the fucking, with the commander.
That's a good one.
Yeah, with the fucking commander and shit. And I'm over here as like the shot call. I'm like, oh yeah, baby, give it to me. It sounds too good to be
Blue's
true.
on his box on the
man.
water.
I just, oh man,
His
dude, yeah.
box in the water.
Are people gonna even actually bother listening to the commander?
You
if
shut
it's
your
like...
mouth. Oh, they will if I'm
Nah.
screaming.
No, but like genuinely, okay. This is the thing, right? They're assuming everyone's gonna get spread out.
Yeah.
If they don't actually add good rewards to this, who's gonna give a shit about winning it? They're just
True.
gonna do it like how they do RBF, and they're just
Yeah.
gonna go there for PvP. I don't care
Yeah.
about winning RBF.
Yeah.
If I win
mean,
an RBF, I get an extra 10 mil. That's like,
Yeah, you're
you
like,
know,
cool,
like-
thanks. I just
I mean-
want to brag, bro. I'm just trying to practice.
I mean, I live in the reality that if I scream loud enough, Flex can hear me in the next Discord combo over. Like the walls in our Discord are thin. So like I feel like if I could get all 300 of them in a Discord call, which is actually not possible. That's another thing is I'm confused how the voice comms are actually going to work.
I don't think there are going to be voice
I-
comms for it. I think if there are voice comms, I think it'll be platoon based voice comms. And I think the only incentive that they have right now is that you have a mission pop up for your platoon that says go to this command post and capture it. And so your platoon goes to that command post and captures it.
What if we just did that but like open world?
Correct. It should 100% be a world versus world or a Cyrodiil type
Like
thing from ESO or Guild Wars 2.
I got
and
it.
Would be fantastic.
get rid of fucking field bosses, okay? And then make the field bosses defend the command posts, okay? And then every once in a while, a field boss will spawn, and then one side can push that command post. So you can push that, but then the other side has to come and defend it. And if they successfully defend it, they get a reward. If you successfully push it, you get a reward. Again, encourages open world PvP. You get a faction system, which we've been asking for forever. But like, as it stands, it sounds amazing. I just don't know. And I actually feel like this is an unpopular opinion. I actually feel like our servers actually are pretty good. Compared to what I see in World of Warcraft and some of the other servers in the other various games. I feel like our servers actually hold up pretty well to a reasonable amount of stress in our PvP scene. And yeah, you're always going to be asking for a certain amount of lag, but 600 people, Southern Commissylvia? I don't know, man. That's going to get a little rough.
Thing is, it's like, I mean, you see what happens in Siege when you get like 300 people grouped in a tight area. Like, it just goes to shit immediately. So, I mean, they're going to have to be very, very specific with how they spread players out to make it not constantly feel like that.
I'm thinking maybe because it's instanced, it might help. Because when you think about when you're doing Siege, it's not instanced. Maybe there's still like other people on
Is War of
the
the
one
Roses going to be
servers.
instanced?
It can't be.
It
There's
can be.
no
I thought it was
way.
just. I thought it was just that one section. No. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be just like Node Wars, I'm sure. You just swap
Yeah.
to a one,
Really?
to a
Just have
comma
a-
one, and
yeah.
just you're running it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay.
I almost guarantee it's going to be like that. I've never seen instanced PvP in BDO other than AoS.
Well, I was just thinking like all the other mechanics. I thought it would, I don't know how it would work in open world, but we'll see.
yeah, I mean,
Blue, I would agree with your server take, right? For like,
Yeah.
comparing to other games.
Yeah.
But the thing is like in this game, that's literally been the primary form of organized PvP content in this game for 6 years. So if the servers don't work for the main form of organized PvP content in this game, then why even have it, right? That's kind of my take. Is like, sure, we have it better, but that's all we have.
it is all
Now we have
have,
AoS
but
at least, but
it's still really good, though. Like, I feel like large-scale content is good enough and meaningful enough and fun enough that even with bad server lag sometimes, it's still fun, right? We still have fun with it. And so it's definitely still worth having. Whether or not War of the Roses will be worthwhile stands to be seen. But we have talked a lot about PvP so far, mainly because Armin is on the podcast.
Smiley face.
But now I want to see it like in our like kind of as our last topic here, and I know I had to jump a little bit because we actually only got through like 3 topics. But Jay, Dekia's
Hi.
lantern. It cometh.
I think we should actually. We might.
I'm hyped.
I think we should
The form.
save this topic for next week because Dekia is coming this week, and maybe that will give us some more insight and more opinions on it when we actually have it instead
Okay,
of
well, explain it to the listeners. Explain your thoughts and what you expect
so
it
listeners,
to be.
if you guys don't know what Dekia's Lantern is, it's a form of like scaling difficulty for some of the Odalita spots and some select other spots like Ash Forest and for some reason Cyclops zone, and it turns them into this 310 AP spots. Even Tauros and Thornwood, they turn into 310 AP and 400 DP spots. So they become just basically end game versions of those. And when you use it, I was watching the video, it looks really clunky, but you kill the pack and then you have to place down a 10-second trap. Kind of like how, like, you know, in Sakrakia, second boss, we have to place down that stupid little trap thingy, and then you get stunned. Anyways, it looks very clunky. At Olin's Valley, especially, you have to mix in both regular mobs and regular grinding mobs, and the Dekia mobs. Is that the rotation is like you kill a golem, you place down your trap or Dekia's lantern, wait a moment, and then it resurrects, you kill it, then move on to the next one, because there's a 10-minute cooldown too. And so that's like the biggest thing. I'm a lot of people were like talking about the rewards. That's the least of my concern. My most concern is just how the grind is, how the gameplay flow is. And at least to me, from watching my friend Hugh, his name is Hugh Hotbar, he plays on the Korean servers, he was saying how the silver per hour is like, 500 mil, but you get to grind Deboraka earrings. And for me, I don't really care about the 500 mil. I care about the Deboraka earrings. And so, but yeah, the gameplay flow of it is just, it looks really clunky. And I hope that in the future they make it a lot more streamlined and maybe just like a toggleable thing.
Is it just like a lantern that you summon? So explain it. So you walk up. Is it just on one path?
You kill the pack, and and then you use the lantern from your inventory, and then you like kneel down to place down a trap, and then it resurrects the mobs as the 310 mobs, and then you kill them, and then because there's a 10-minute cooldown, you can't sustain the Dekia's mobs for an hour. You have to go kill regular mobs until your lantern's back up because of that 10-minute cooldown, which is why I'm like, what the heck?
Oh,
this looks
that's
really
gonna be
annoying.
Really tough. Yeah,
this looks really
it's not built in at all, dude. Like you're gonna have to kneel down. It's interrupting your grind.
Yeah,
what
it's
are we
interrupting
doing?
your gameplay flow too. It's just from the videos. I did link the videos in the outline if you guys wanted to see. They're made from my friend Hugh Hotbar. And it just looks really.
Oh my god!
maybe they'll improve it. Okay, I'm just like, I need to breathe in all the hopium and copium that I can get.
Jay's response is my immersion. He's being compromised. Tiltus, as a 610 gear score player, are you going to be using this lantern a whole lot?
Bud.
Yeah, no problem.
No.
You're not...
No.
Are you even going to bother with it at all?
I mean, I'll get the thing, but I'm not using it for a minute. You crazy?
Armin,
Bro, I play this game slow, all right?
Armin,
very slow.
The only time I ever saw you grind, Armin, was when you were getting ready for the best in guild tournament, and this man went from
I
like
grinded so much.
He went from like 620 to like 700 in like a month. He was just.
I grinded 310 bill in 30 days. It was a great grind time.
Yeah, it was insane.
Boy,
it was like the Rocky theme music was playing in the background, and he was just going. And the best part was, you literally finished a few days early, because I remember you just running around on Arsha with this full elixir rotation. He's just running around on Arsha killing people. They're like, why are you here with a full elixir? Who just runs around with this shit running? He's like, I do.
I was feeling so good.
That's
first
me.
time having gear in my lifetime. That was great. That's so good.
You know what we haven't done in a while? The forum post. And I feel like because we're talking about PvP, I feel like the first forum post would be a pretty good topic to talk about.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to? Okay, well.
He doesn't have it. I knew it, because I'm actually testing. I'm actually testing to see if he's got the outline open.
So, this first forum post comes from NVIDIA, and it talks about the Gourd Bottle of Life, which restores 400 HP. Which, if you put into percentage, it's about 45% more effective than regular potions or the infinite potion. And this post is voicing concerns that, the deeper your pockets, quote unquote, the more wins you get. and is suggesting maybe an upgrade path to the infinite potion as a result. So what do you guys think about the Gourd Bottle Life? Have you guys been buying it? Have you guys been using it for like node wars and stuff?
If I do a node war, I'm forced to buy it, basically.
You're forced to buy it.
Because you're in Show Nation.
I don't have a
It's because
choice.
you're in Show. Yeah. The people in Show, absolutely.
Yeah, for listeners who don't know how the cost, it's 500k each, 500k silver each. And so let's say you're using, I don't know, how many pots do you go through a node war? Maybe
700?
200?
No.
700?
700.
700 or 1,000.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Jay's like, what? That number went up by quite a bit. Okay.
Jay's like, hold on, what?
It's
Yeah.
a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. You're talking at least, I mean, so you're talking
But
about
it's a fairly big advantage, right? Because
Yeah.
you get so
Very.
much more.
it's a
Very
huge advantage, right? You're effectively got a better health potion than your opponents, but you're paying through the teeth for it, right?
Yeah.
I actually love the way that it's designed. I love items like this. I wish there were more stuff like this in the game because it takes the silver inflation from the game. Take the silver from the really high-end players that have a ton of silver. Knock that silver out of the marketplace and just vaporize it, right? Like, I think it just helps prevent inflation and stuff like that. And I really do feel like the normal most players are not going to be using that every fight. In our guild, in Reforged, I tell them don't use it unless it's like it's a serious fight and we're like really going for a win, right? Because then you can like super buff yourself up and then we can actually use it for something. But aside from that, they're kind of just wasting their money most of the time. If you're just using those potions all the time, you're just crapping through money, man. I don't know, Armin, how do you feel about it?
I don't know why they didn't just upgrade the infinite potion. I mean, like,
So you like the infinite pot upgrade?
I get the idea that it's supposed to be a silver sink, but why is it only for PvP? Well, like, it's just another concept I don't get where they hate one form of the game so much, and then meanwhile, like, oh, if I'm just a PvE player, like it doesn't really matter or affect me.
He's like,
I don't
have you
know.
ever been smacked by an Olin? Do you know how scary that is?
Armin has, yeah, I've
So
seen
whale
I get
that.
smacked by it
cannons, huh?
every single time I grind there. It's not a problem. I just heal up.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. I just wish they would add an upgrade already. Because if they want to add silver sinks into this game, there's much better ways of going about it that doesn't specifically just end up targeting one form of the player base.
I think the Dekia's lantern, if they actually make it not the way Jay was describing it earlier, would be a good form of that because it requires yellow accessories to fuel.
Yeah, you have to fuel it. You have to fuel it through yellow accessories, and so
Yellow enhanced accessories, if I remember.
Yellow enhanced
Yeah, like,
accessories,
I mean, that one's a decent bit better. To me, it's like we've already been asking to be rewarded for doing PvP for so long, and then they just slap us in the face with this potion. So
Yeah.
that's basically what it feels like. And then anyone that's fighting us is also now like, well, I am not caught up to these players in gear yet. Meanwhile, they're just abusing these potions, and now it's just even more of a swing for top end players in PvP. It's not a good time for anybody.
That's a valid point, but I think their problem is they're stuck in a position where, like with the infinite pot, the infinite pot was never designed for everyone to have it. It was meant like they originally had designed it.
Blue.
Oh no, it is now. Now it is. I mean, you could sell it on the market. And in about a month or two, you're gonna be able to sell that on the marketplace.
Yeah, you can sell it.
So like,
And I'll be buying it.
Exactly. But like, it was never.
Oh my god.
It was never originally conceived that way, but then they had to like morph it after the fact because like every player felt like they needed an infinite potion, right? Every single player felt like they needed it. And so I think the reason they introduced the Gourd Bottle of Life like this is a better HP pot, but it's not an upgrade to the infinite pot, is because if they did introduce an upgrade to the infinite pot, you are taking new players that are starting the game, and they now you have to go grind for your infinite pot, and then you have to go grind for the upgrade for the infinite pot. And then you have to go back for the mana pot. And by the time they're done with that, they're going to have to grind for the upgrade for the infinite mana pot. And then they get to actually play the game. I don't think they want to introduce anything else that requires new players to go get it again. That was never their intention from the beginning, but it ended up being that way. And the reason that they're introducing it on the marketplace is they're just conceding. And they're saying, okay, we don't want to have a new player that feels like he's forced to grind at Blood Wolves if he doesn't want to. Right? They don't like forcing players to do things one way or another. And so the reason they're introducing it on the marketplace is for that exact reason. I think that if they wanted to introduce the upgrade on the marketplace as well, but see, then it's not going to be populated. So like you still have to go grind for it. So like, although you could buy the original, now they've put themselves in the same situation again. So a new player could buy the original potion off the marketplace, but then he still has to go grind. He's forced to grind this new spot to go get the upgrade for the new infinite potion. So like they don't want to force players to do stuff. And
I mean, they kind of already forced us to do a billion of things. I don't think it's a big deal to.
What do you feel forced to do?
You have to do your journals. I mean, like, a new player is already forced to go and do journals and all this bullshit. It really doesn't add too much.
Technically, you don't have to, but yeah. I mean, I agree. The journals are poorly designed.
The journals were a poorly designed way to convince players to go explore weird aspects of the game and weird places in the world that I think did not fully meet what they wanted it to do, because everybody just hates them now. So
yeah, I mean, like, they could, yeah, be careful what you wish for, because the upgrade to the infinite potion is probably just another journal.
I mean, I take it, honestly. I'd rather do that than spending 2 billion silver every single node war. Like,
no more. No.
I already hate grinding, man. There's no way they're gonna force me to do more and lose silver while doing PvP.
We can't.
It's painful.
No more journals that have essential gear and upgrades capped behind them. I agree. The journals were a good example. Journals, we talked about journals on a previous podcast. They really do force you to do the journals because they've gated like fucking 10 AP and like 12 DP or 17 DP or crazy crap behind journals. Right? All of those stats are all gated behind these journals that you absolutely have to do. And I think the journals were poorly designed in that, like, they should have just been like a fun way to introduce players to content if they wanted to do them. Do the journal, acquire 50 energy. Meaningful reward, not required for your end game gear. No one's really going to care if you're not a life skiller. You know what I mean? Like, but it might introduce.
Okay, but then you're just screwing over life skillers, man. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, life skillers are irrelevant anyway. So, like, it doesn't matter. Tell me that a barterer is relevant.
You are the only barterer left in North America, Blue.
I'm the only one left. It's
That's what I'm saying.
me.
There would be more people that do bartering, I bet you, if it was good money. Like, I don't know. I just think that, like, targeting specific portions of the player base with stuff that just screws them over is just really bad.
I think that 50 energy would be like a reasonable, or like maybe 20, 30 contribution.
I know so many life skillers that would like immediately hop on that journal and be like,
sure,
why do they do
because
this?
they find it meaningful, but it's not required necessarily unless you're a really high-end player, in which case you're going to want to do it. You're probably going to want to do that content.
Meanwhile, I think if they wanted to do something like that, they could just be like, oh, I mean, let's just add it during the progression path of like gaining mastery in the skill or something. I don't know.
There's an idea. You get like hit 1500 mastery for the first time, acquire 50 more energy. Like,
yeah, honestly, that'd be fun.
Anything like
journals,
that.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because we already have like a pseudo milestone thing in the game. Yeah, me too.
That thing.
But if they revamped that and combined it, like made that the new journals was like a milestone thing of like, hey, do
wait. I just realized something.
Go ahead.
Is this how we got to what was that system they had like way back in the day, where the more gear score you had?
No.
Is this how they got to the idea of renown? This has to be it.
No.
This has to be how they got to the idea of renown.
Say those words.
Get out. Yeah, for the listeners that don't know, renown was a system a long time ago where the higher gear score you were, the more like gear stats that you acquired, the more stats you acquired. So if you were 300 DP, you got 50 extra DR for just being 300 DP. Or if you were 269 AP, and you got 50 extra AP, right?
Yep.
So like it really separated the high end from the low end in the game. Right.
It was horrible. Because before Renown, you could kill players if you were better than them.
Right.
If they had more gear than you. When Renown hit, that was over. It was like if they're more than like 10 to 20 score above you, you're done. Right. You're not killing that player.
I mean, I am a life skill. I got so much hate for saying. I mean, nobody cares about life skillers. I'm literally a life skiller. I have like 1,700. I'm working on my 2K master. I'm almost there. But like I life skill all the time. I gather all the time. I cook all the time. I barter all the time. And I still would not want my essential rewards gated behind journals. I don't feel like maybe 50 energy is too much, but like anything that is not actual sheet stats. I'm being honest.
Journals should be flexes. It should come in the form of cosmetics, mount skins, titles.
There's an idea.
Then there should be a milestone progression path where it gives you a set thing of things to do. Hit 1,500 mastery for the first time. Here's 50 energy. That way you're always working towards that thing, even regardless of what you're doing. If you're a life skiller, it'd be so much better if they just introduced some kind of milestone. And most games we have milestones in the game. They're just dog shit.
Yeah, I think the only way they're going to introduce the gourd as an advanced potion is they're going to do it through a journal, man. I don't think it's going to be some RNG drop that you're going to have to go do. I think they're just going to make you go do another goddamn
quest. It's
an
RNG drop for Calamity 10.
No, dude.
I still haven't done my Land of Morning Light journals, by the way. I still haven't done them.
It's okay, honestly.
I'm regretting doing that. I just don't want to do them.
Yeah, the only reason I broke down and did it because I wanted my third Crystal Harmony, and I was like, my workers are taking them home in their pockets, so I guess I'm gonna go do it.
Dear Roots, I would like to report on one of your players that doesn't have all of his journals done.
I mean, like, it's just 1 DP and some stamina. Like, I mean, I really.
It gives you 20 accuracy. It's like 20 accuracy.
I mean, like, fuck, man.
20 accuracy.
20 accuracy.
I got a 20 accuracy. I mean, that's just from the bosses.
Yeah,
I got the 1 AP. I got the 1 AP. I don't want to do the rest, man. I don't want to do the rest.
Yeah. If you want me to speak my truth, the boss split stuff, I haven't done it since the second week, bro.
I've been doing that every week. It's actually fun. I love doing it.
I like the ball splits.
My biggest
Blue
problem
just
is
doesn't like fun.
I barter. How dare you?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, that's why
I like ocean content. This is fun. This is what fun looks like. I don't like having to go to Land of the Morning Light to go do it. It's like 3
boxes
load
on the
screens.
water, right?
Yeah, like it's like 3 load screens. I would rather just turn in my boxes and just buy the stuff. You know, my Imperial boxes and just buy the stuff. You know what I mean? I would rather just go gather. I don't want to have to go fight. Honestly, the real reason is, and don't tell my guild, the first time I did it, they just scarred me. Because I did it in voice, and I was raging so hard, and they were all laughing at me like banshees. Like, because they were just Blue, just stay in the circle, and the stupid little pig dude with all the fire, he would like pin himself against the side. Yeah, that dumbass. He would pin himself against the side of the wall, and so the circle is like this tiny ass little crescent moon of a thing, and I literally couldn't get anything done. There was no room to move around, and everyone's just like, just stay in the circle, idiot. And oh my god,
use your PVE iframe.
Man, I just lost my mind. I was so mad. And like, I did it like 1 more week, and then I was like, I'm done with that. I don't want to do it anymore.
We did a race to see who could do a Mugi 6 in our Discord, and after about 2 hours, we all left pissed off as fuck, and nobody could.
Yeah, see, it's like
we were all just
everyone
mad
just
at
rage
the end.
quits the content. Yeah. All right, so we need to start wrapping this to a close. We're actually over time as it is here. So let's go ahead and do closing thoughts, outros. Tiltus, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Hey, I'm Tiltus TV. I'm the PvP guy. I'm the shot caller flex lead for Epidemic.
Good save.
I stream every day of the week when I actually feel like it, and I'm not on break. And then I also am a huge Dark Souls fanatic. I'm doing Soul Sundays on Sundays, so if you want to come talk about Dark Souls, feel free to tune in. We have a lot of fun, and I'll talk your ear off. So,
right on. And Jay?
Hi, I'm Jay Kuhn. I'm the PvE
almost
guy.
forgot the second half. Yeah.
I do Olins.
How was the outro worse than the intro?
I don't know, dude. It's just
I'm gonna be doing a lot of Dekia's owns tomorrow. So if you wanna find me over at jkun twitch.tv/jkunvtv before the T. Let's go.
all right. And my boy Armin.
I'm Armin. You can find my stream at twitch.tv/ArminTF. And I love video. I love video.
Delph, did you hear that?
Did you get all that, Jay? Like, absolutely. And I am, of course, Blue Squadron. You can find the Old Moon podcast here live on Twitch, either at my stream, Blue Squadron, or Jkun VTV before the T. See, I got it right on the first try there. Or Tiltus TV. Or Tiltus TV every week. Big shout out to Armin for coming on the show this week. That was absolutely awesome. You can also find the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find it on our YouTube very shortly after the broadcast finishes going live. I have it up on YouTube immediately, and then it's up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. So make sure you guys drop that follow and subscribe on there. We're doing all kinds of content on this channel. We're always shot calling on Saturday, and I promise you the most entertaining shot calling content you've ever had in your life. Maybe it's not the best, but hey, it's certainly going to make you laugh. And then we do Fun Day Mondays, which are very fun VOD reviews, and we show people how to play large-scale PvP on various classes in the game in a super fun way. And, of course, Tuesday's the Old Moon podcast. Sunday, we're usually just messing around and doing some sort of fun content there, but maybe some React videos and things like that. So, yeah, make sure you check us all out. From all of us here at the Old Moon podcast, you guys have a great rest of your week.